it seems so alien, especially, compared to the world that we live in now. You don't see those fields just going down
Yeah,
the
at
street
times I
somewhere.
kind of forget that like, well, I'm like, why isn't there like ogres or like trolls in this world? It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
'cause this is a real world.
This isn't an Elder Scrolls game, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine though if we had like lighting and visuals like this in Elder Scrolls 6? God
Oh,
damn. But yeah, getting back to Ghosts. So yeah, the visuals were just gorgeous. I absolutely love that they, like, from the get-go, you can basically go the what is it, Kurosawa mode, which is like the black and white film
Yeah.
effect, as well as the Japanese voices. I think that's just a really, it's like, it's probably not too hard of a detail to have, because I imagine in most AAA games they have Japanese voiceovers for like anything really, or like
mhm.
the other languages, right? So I can't imagine it's too difficult there, as well as like the film thing, but it's just a minor detail they added on there that I feel like adds so much to the game. And it like, at least for me, it just, it boosted my gaming experience so much. The combat is so satisfying. Oh my goodness. I did not think I was going to have as much fun in the combat as I did. It can be very unforgiving. I don't know what
Oh
difficulty
yeah.
you guys are playing on, but there is, I think Saturday morning, I literally had to like put the controller down for a few hours because I'm like, I am so bad and I don't want to bite the bullet and lower the difficulty. I know I can do this, but I'm just gonna have to, go for a walk or something, calm down. And it's just, it's
Some of
such a
those
fun
samurai
game.
fights are they're a little tough there, you know.
Oh yeah, the duels are
Yeah.
super fun. They're I I don't know. I mean, obviously I haven't beaten the game like Travis has, but like all the duels I've had so far, they've just been like, again, just so visually beautiful. Like I love like the little settings I guess they put you in. One of my favorite scenes in this entire game, I'm just gonna call it a scene because it felt like it, was the actual like tutorial. I'm not gonna go into spoilers or anything, but I think it was just such a cool way to do that like sequence. Again, like
Mhm.
it's just gorgeous, but also it it like has a realistic factor to like doing the tutorial, because some games it's just like, oh, hit circle to, like crouch or something like that. Like your cat, like the NPCs like telling your character to do that. It's just like, oh, this kind of takes me out of it. But like the way that they were able to do it in kind of like a flashback dream sequence, I just thought that was really cool and really creative. And I found that with like most of the things in this game, when they're trying to either forward the story or just explain some things, like I feel like it doesn't take you out of that world too much. It's real. Like I feel like they went out of their way to kind of have some realism factors in some of those things. And
Mhm.
honestly, I've spent more hours probably just exploring in this game than I did like actually playing like the storyline and everything. It's such an easy game to just get lost in. Like I was just in the private chat, I was messaging Travis saying like I could easily see myself platinuming this game. Not because I think it's easy to get all the trophies. I haven't really looked through the trophies on them, but it's just such a fun game to do. Like even if I'm just wandering around,
I might
just
do that as
exploring.
well.
Yeah, like it's such a fun game to just be in and be in that world. And fuck man, I wish I'd multiple weeks off work to just play this. So yeah, I'll pass along, but overall I am just so blown away. Like honestly, I had high expectations going into it. I remember before the game came out, I was like, I got really high expectations, and that can either go one way or the other, and I was really hoping it wasn't going to be a disappointment, and I definitely am not. So I'm really happy.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll go next. I'm about, I want to say somewhere between 20 and 25 hours in at this point. I've played a lot. It was like I just really got glued to it pretty quick. I had a pretty interesting experience with the game where I got it pre-downloaded, and I was playing like Thursday night when it launched. Played for just a couple hours because I had to work the next day. And in that like first couple hours, I was not vibing with it too much. There was a few like glaring issues to me. I had a bunch of glitches, like AI stuff, where like these enemies were just, there's like four of them just like climbing over this fence back and forth. It was
Oh
like the middle
no.
of a battle and they just kept doing it. As Kirklin mentioned, they have the Japanese voices for the game, but they're not synced with the animations. Like you can
Yeah.
see that the characters are still saying the words in English, but then you hear it in Japanese, which I understand why they wouldn't do that for two separate languages because that'd be really expensive. But I just felt like for this game in particular, you'd go that extra mile, you'd do that Japanese, especially when this game I saw that this game's like possibly the best or fastest selling PS4 exclusive like in Japan, and I just felt like for that audience, like it would have been proper for this game to do that. So
Yeah.
that kind of bummed me out. And then yeah, just like random like camera glitches and things like that. So the first night I was like, oh god. I don't know if this is going to be the game I was looking for. And the thing is, like, I've played tons of games this year, but I've only played one other like full price AAA game. I've just been playing a bunch of indies. So when I do spend the extra money to get a game like this, I kind of expect a level of polish. That's kind of like part of the cost for me, is that I
Yeah.
know that there's however like, oh, I don't know what the studio size is for Sucker Punch, over 100 easily.
Yeah,
So I
for
kind of
sure.
expect a lot of that stuff to be figured out, but I kind of just had the vibe that maybe they wanted to delay this to fix some stuff, and then they just didn't really have time because like PS5 comes out in a few months, and where else are you going to slot this? But I don't know. To take the tinfoil hat off, the next day when I was playing the game, I got off work at like 4 p.m. and I probably played, like, other than eating dinner, I played for probably like 8 or 9 hours straight until like 1, 2 a.m. I was just so glued to the game. I just fell in love with it. And then the same thing all the days since. I still have some of those minor issues that pop up, and I will bring those up later. But for the most part, I'm just totally in love with this game. I think it's very much in line with a lot of PS4 exclusives or just open world games in general right now. It is kind of like a collectathon in that there's all these things to check off on the map. It has different systems in place to help you get around. It has all sorts of, it has like its combat system, has its exploration things. But I felt like it really is pushing the envelope in some directions. For me, mainly is like the exploration. I've been wanting this for years and years for games to take away that stupid compass at the top of the screen, to take away those fucking map markers that just takes so much away from the exploration for me, because I know exactly where I'm going and you don't really have to pay attention to where you are. Whereas in this game, the fact that they took away that little map marker and replaced it with the wind guiding you through this beautiful world is just such a great solution, right? We talked about that even before the game came out. I was like, man, I love the idea of that. And then it's exactly as it sounds like. It's simple mechanic, but it works so well. It does the game wonders. And I really, really hope that other studios follow suit in that. And obviously, this is such a popular space for AAA games right now. And even if you don't have to copy the wind exactly, but just take that idea and go with it, because I think it really makes me just get so much more invested in this world. As Kirklin said, the game's incredibly beautiful, and it just fits so well that you have the wind just brushing through these beautiful flowers and lush trees and all this stuff. So that part of the game is nailing it. And then the thing I was mostly worried about coming into this game after watching that state of play, talking about it with Travis on the Out of Mana episode, was the combat, because that is the thing that pulls me out of these games the most. Games like Shadow of Mordor, games like The Witcher, I just can't get invested in those games because I just hate the combat. Hate is a strong word, but really, I'm so bored when I'm fighting in those games for whatever reason. Not to say that they have bad combat systems, they just don't work for me necessarily. But I love in this game that they've trimmed it down so that you deal a ton of damage, the enemies deal a ton of damage to you, the fights are quicker. It's more about having multiple enemies kind of converging on you. It gets very chaotic. You have all your tools to help you out. And I just find it so enticing. It's so much fun. The different stances, I love how quick it is to switch between things. I think they nailed the control scheme in this game, because there's a lot of different things you can do, and it's really, really quick to just switch between those things on a second's pace. So I'm loving the combat. The stealth isn't anything to write home about. It's pretty classic. You can lure people, you can hide in tall grass, all these things that we've seen 100 times, but it's really fun. I think there's a little bit more movement to it, and you're weaving under and through houses, through windows. You have your grappling hook to kind of almost Batman it between buildings. So I really like that aspect. And then I guess the last thing I'll say in this overall is that I like the quest design overall. I like the characters that we have. But I just think the quests are interesting because, one, they take away those map markers, so it makes it more fun. You actually have to pay attention to what's going on. But there's a lot of like detective things in this game. You're following tracks, you're looking for clues, you're extrapolating information, then using that to go to your next destination, where most of the time you are doing fighting, but there is a lot of side quests that are more story based or more about finding stuff or helping someone out instead of just straight up combat. So I like that inclusion as well. So overall, it's really just everything I wanted and more. There's specific things that I'm really excited to talk about and rave about this game. And even though I do have some problems with it and think it maybe needed a couple more months of polish, I still am so in love with this game. And yeah, as Kirkland said, like, I don't platinum games very often. I have one platinum trophy in my life. It's Spider-Man PS4. And I might do it again for this game because in those 25 hours that I have, this game is kind of split into, well, I imagine it's split into like 3 acts, and that's like kind of 3 parts of the island that are kind of sectioned off. I'm still pretty much only in the first section. I've spent an hour in the second part of the game after the first act, because I've just gone back like the last couple of days. I was just going through, clearing parts of the map, getting rid of the fog of war, going to all the points of interest, doing all the quests, doing all the character quests, going to all the farms, all that stuff. So I've barely progressed the game at all. What feels like I could have done everything I have in like 8 hours, like main story wise, if I just rushed it. But I've just been taking tons of time, enjoying the world, opening the map as little as possible, just letting myself get lost in the world. And yeah, I'm absolutely in love with it.
Yeah, nice. I share a lot of the same sentiment as you guys do. I was pretty similar to Dylan when I was first playing. I was enjoying it, but I felt okay. This is kind of, I always talk about tier scoopers. I think this game and my overall thoughts are it's somewhere in the very high B, very low A sort of realm. Maybe even just an A, but I at first was thinking, okay, maybe it's at lower B, like high C plus. Like I was having fun, but especially the combat early on feels very basic. And that's where it's like, oh, this isn't going to be fun to play for another 30 hours. And that's probably one of the best things a game can do is get better as it go along. You don't want to be the reverse where you're just hating it and you're going, oh, I got to finish this. Check out my Last of Us 2 review. If you are enjoying it more as you go on, that's kind of the key to a game. And that's exactly what was happening the first night. I played about 2 hours. I was working really early that week, so I did not get to do my Travis binge. And then I did finish the story, but I did finish it just because I'm going on a trip this week. So I knew, okay, if I'm going to be busy, I probably won't get a chance to play that much. So I want to finish it. But I honestly did more side missions than I thought because I wasn't planning on finishing it. It just kind of happened. And then I was like, okay, I think I'm close enough because once I've realized, yeah, Act 1, Act 2, kind of like a movie structure, I'm like, okay, I think I could finish this. So I did. But even then, the exploring factor is what I really like. That's one of the biggest things I loved about Death Stranding. And that's one of the things I liked about Breath of the Wild, but it just never hooked me like this game has hooked me. This is a game that we have until I think September till Avengers, and that's kind of the only next game. And even then, I don't think that's gonna be a massive game. This is a game that I think I do. I don't know if I'll be able to platinum it because I have to look at all those, but this is a game that I do want to try and complete everything, which is tough. I haven't done that with Red Dead. There's many games that I've beat and done a lot of things, but eventually, okay, my time with this game is over. With this is a game I just want to keep going, and it's good because you get that you can kind of have your, like bake your cake and eat it too. That as far as just the side quest and exploring, you can go on a, like right now I'm doing this quest where I gotta go get like 6 different keys to get a certain pair of armor, and it's like it's a long like side quest. But then there's other ones where it's just like a classic, hey, like a Spider-Man, Assassin's Creed, you want to go mess up a few camps and liberate some people, boom. So it almost has that thing that you could play for hours, or you could just play for 30 to 40 minutes and just get in there. Same thing with the visuals. It's tough because that was one thing we always knew since this game was revealed, that they were going to be great, right? And all I can say is that they delivered. Everything about that was perfect. The landscapes, you get your classic at some point, like changing of weathers. I have one con that I wish you could change the weather on, like whenever, if you could go like meditate somewhere and change the weather. I really wish you could do that, because there's some certain sceneries when I'm around them, I'm like, oh, I'd like to see this at nighttime. And sometimes you're there, but if it's not on the story or not the natural progression, you might not come back for a while. So I have minor cons in this game like that, of little things where it feels a little dated. I did have some glitches as well as Dylan. There's one in a mission where I jumped on a wall and then just skateboarded me all the way out of the screen, and then it was like, you're leaving the mission area, but I couldn't move at all. So it's just like, you're leaving, you have 15 seconds to get back. And luckily it wasn't a big jump back, but I've had a few of those, or just like some certain jumps. Or I think the combat is fantastic, the way you move, all the upgrades, and these are like, it has your classic skill tree, but I found be excited by the majority of them, which we kind of talked about with Spider-Man, where most of them were kind of basic, right? There's some good ones, but that kind of happens, like Dylan's been playing Arkham 2, where I feel like there's some really good ones, and then there's some where it's just like, okay, just a better batarang, a better grappling hook. It's just like, okay. But this really felt like eventually you can unlock everything, but this felt like you can choose how, like they talk about in the demo, how you want to play. I am much more, like I've talked about before, this is the Batman game I'm going to get if I don't get one this year. I played it very stealthy. If I had to fight, I put all my like dodging and evasion up. So it's like, okay, I'm going to fight, but I'm not like a powerhouse, because this is a game, I think, unless there's a few times it can happen, but it's not a hack and slash. It's not, you can never just drop down in an arena and just go for it, which I love. It's a very chess playing. You gotta think about your maneuver, and that's a good thing. There's different types of enemy sets, but it feels like it is just like, okay, you're playing it different, whether it's the duels or whether it's just the random enemies. Okay, you got to approach this differently each time. You can never, even the stealth, you got to approach it differently each time. So I really enjoyed that, and yeah, it's a game. As far as the action adventure genre, it's very high up there. I don't know where it ranks in my PS4 exclusives. Maybe that's something that Dylan's going to cover at Amana, and I would love to be on that, because I'd have to take a list and put them all and say, okay, where.
Uh-oh.
I think we lost him.
Oh, Travis.
I liked the story. Am I gone?
We lost you.
We
but
lost
you're
you for
back
a
now.
second.
Okay, I'm back. Okay.
You're back.
As far as the story goes, it got better as it went along. I'd say it's kind of a tale of like two stories. As far as the first half is very generic, and this is not a spoiler because it happens in the first mission. It's literally a guy takes over your country and you got to get it back. It's very like you got to
What?
find allies. You got to it's like it's a story you've played 1,000 times, and especially the rest of the game too. If you've seen any samurai movies, it kind of follows similar beats. But the ending of Act 2 and Act 3 is where it starts to change a bit, and I liked it. And there's some stuff where I thought, oh, they're gonna save this for a sequel, and they didn't, which I really liked. And I would recommend this game to most people. I don't know who I wouldn't recommend it to. I'm trying to think, like, if you just hated the samurai genre, then maybe that. I don't know if you have some distinct thing. If you're not into action adventure, I guess, but I would recommend if you kind of like the third person, a Horizon Zero Dawn, Shadow of Mordor, Batman. They're different type of games, but it's in that vein. And this is, I said this to Dylan in a chat. This is what I wish Jedi Fallen Order was, because to me, Jedi Fallen Order was trying to be this, and obviously it's a bit different because it's more linear and whatnot. But even the combat, to me, this feels punishing in a good way. Where Jedi Fallen Order sometimes felt punishing because it was a buggy and it wasn't that crisp. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is the timing. And it's like that timing that doesn't make sense. Where this does feel like, oh fuck, I screwed that up. Like it's that thing. Like if I would have, went left instead of right, I could have had this. So I got mostly nothing but praise for this game, and I think it's a strong. And now looking back on it, it's a bit better that they actually put this after Last of Us, because I feel like this is a bit more of a, I think because it's a bit more safer game. That's not a bad thing. It's just because it's just first game out and it's just a broader tale. But I think it's a good way to kind of end the PS4 era. Obviously, we still got a few more months, but this is going to go down as the Last of Us of the PS4, like PS3, right? It's going to go down as the last game Ghosts, and I can't wait to see what more they do with this franchise.
Yeah, it's an awesome bang to go out on for sure for the console.
Yeah.
of
And I
PS4.
can see, I mean, maybe I'm speaking too soon, but I could see this being a really worthy game of a PS5 upgrade version. Like just,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they can get 60 FPS, but if they can do that, that would be great. But then even the lighting is already great, but imagine that with ray tracing.
Yeah.
I'd
God
like to see
particles.
that.
Oh.
Yeah. Like I could consider buying the game again.
Oh
at
yeah.
full price,
I could easily see
PS5
myself
upgrade
there.
down the
It's-
road after I'm done Deathloop and all that.
It's funny because I'm trying to think, like Last of Us, the original Last of Us, that was PS3 and then like remastered on PS4, right?
Mhm.
So I mean that game still kind of looks good compared to like some other games that have come out, which is kind of funny to say. But I was just saying, like, watch us near the end of the PS5 era be like, oh, I can't believe how bad Ghost of Tsushima looks compared to like, what we're used to now. We're just gonna be so spoiled when it comes to the PS5.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
I think
But,
this game
where'd
will
you guys
look
wanna
good for
start?
a while.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, where do you guys want to start in this? 'Cause also we've touched on
yeah.
a few things, but
I guess we can start here with me. I'm gonna
Yeah.
quickly just say, like, I absolutely love how like the side quests, and I feel like in a lot of games some side quests can be so fucking just like bonkers. It's just like, I don't know, maybe you're playing like a survival game and they're like, yeah, I gotta go get my video game or something, can you go find it for me? It's just so like off the walls, like that doesn't make any sense. But I feel like every side quest every time I would go to a town and there'd be like that little indicator above like an NPC, I go talk to them, and it's like it's all related to like the Mongol invasion, or like oh, like my the Mongols took my or like, or oh, my son is sick, and like and like it just seems very relevant to what's going on in the overarching world, which is this Mongolian invasion of your entire island, right? Like the entire island is under attack. So it's not like, oh, can you go find my mixtape for like my cousin? Like it didn't seem like too out there. Like it seemed like it kind of fit with the story. So anytime I came across a side quest, I'm like, okay, well, I want to prioritize
It's
this.
worth doing,
yeah, it's worth doing. And I found, like, I don't think there was any side quest that I was like, this just feels ridiculous. That like I got other things to do. I can't talk to you right now. Like every one that I started, I felt like I was like, wow, this, like, I don't know. I felt like they did a good job at at least incorporating it in the overarching world.
I love that you brought this up. I think this actually ties into like the whole, at least first act of the game, because I don't want to speak too much on what I haven't done yet, but I think they did a really great job of that, because the whole hook of the first act is like, okay, your uncle is in this keep and you're going to recruit some allies and then go get him. That's like the whole thing. And throughout that, you're going to do some side quests, or you're meeting some characters, you're recruiting them to your team, and then you're building that. But I think you make a great point, because one, those character side quests you do feel really justified because you're helping that person out. You're building that level of trust that they will help you on that mission, that really difficult mission you have to do, that they might die on the, like, that's how scary of a mission it is. But then even that little stuff of just helping like the unnamed peasants of the world, it really feels like it's something that's worth doing, because the threat that you have is like, it is maybe a time requirement kind of thing, but it still feels like saving this little village of people is worth doing. It's something that needs to be done like right then and there. I think they did a great job of like justifying all that, where a lot of games, like I love critiquing Fallout 4 for this, where the whole like setup of the story is that your child is missing, you're gonna go try and find them. So it's like it's impossible to like logically justify a character, like a sane character, that wouldn't go do that before absolutely anything else.
Totally.
And there's even like, you can go do a mission where you help some parents like find their missing kid before you do that yourself. And it's like, it just breaks the whole story. It's like, this is stupid. This is really fucking dumb. I can't believe the story. Whereas Ghosts, yes, you want to go save your uncle, but it actually does make sense to help these other people, help these named NPCs or just the nameless peasants.
Right.
So they nailed it in that aspect, and it really helps to justify the world building as well, because now every town feels meaningful instead of just some combination of houses.
No, for sure. Yeah. So that was like the main one. What about you, Travis? You haven't done too many side quests. You just powered right through the main story.
No, I did the first, and I did tons of them. That's why I've done a lot now since I've finished the main. And I remember, because when I finished the main story, I was like looking at my map. I was like, God, that's a lot of quests. Like there's just so many, because you'll go to one spot and there's like, you got to talk to 6 different people, and they've all lost a sword. Their child's been killed. Their family's been killed. And it's always very depressing stuff. So that's never good. But no, I agree with you. I'd say as far as side quests, it's higher ranking, as far as it reminded me a lot of the first Red Dead and The Witcher, where it's just side quests that get you either involved with the story, or it just will easily trick you into thinking, oh, this is a part of the main story. And those are the best quests, where it does feel like Dylan was talking about, like it's going towards something, not just like, hey, Billy, my goat's gone, can you help? And it's like, okay, sure. And then you're on for hours looking for this goat, and I'm somebody that, like, I don't know if other people are out there, so let me know. I always, even when I'm not doing a review, like to finish the main quest first, because I like leaving the side things as like, oh, it's almost like I have a sequel game sitting there for me ready to go, and I'm all statted up. But they did a good job, and I think I like all the characters. I think Lady Masuko is my favorite. She has like a really tragic backstory, and that's really good. So I that's a good thing when you have side quests that don't just feel, of course there is, like I said, somewhere it's just like, hey, I've lost my horse, go find it. But those are very few and far in between with this game, and there's a good variety of them too. Like, I know not all of them are technically side quests, but like the shrines are really good. I'm not sure if you guys have done, I think it's called, like, I can't remember, but it's like the blue symbol. There's certain sort of stories.
The musicians one. Yeah,
the musicians one. Yeah, and then you get a great like cinematic for every story. It like is like, it's like illustrations really about this armor or this weapon or blah blah blah. So that's the thing where they take side quests that not only just the story is different, but just even how you consume them is different. So I think that was, like I said, though, that's very high tier. It's up there, Red Dead and Witcher, because Red Dead to me always, and even then too, there's like some things in Ghost where it's like, oh, there's a secret shadow in the woods, and you kind of know the game is like, it's not really it. They do it in a perfect way where it could be real, but it could not be real. And that's very Red Dead, because Red Dead all the time you bump into people like, I've heard this train station's haunted. And then you're John Marston and you're like, okay, it's probably somebody just dicking around. And it usually was, but you never knew. And there's one in particular, I don't want to spoil, but there's one in particular where you kind of have to go into these woods, and the scenery is so great. It's nighttime. There's bugs everywhere. I guess Kirkland's done it. It is phenomenal. It reminded me a lot of Red Dead 2. And also, this game reminds me a lot of Red Dead as far as great horse mechanics. So it has that over Breath of the Wild for me. But just like just exploring everything, the hills. But there's some quests that take you some really great places. That one in particular, if people have played it, you go in the woods, there's a spirit there, and it just the visuals that are going on is fantastic. And I'm a big horror guy, so anytime you can kind of sprinkle in like a little scariness in there, I'm gonna give you a thumbs up for that. So
I'm glad you brought that up, because I specifically like asterisk that quest in my notes, because I'm like, I had to talk about it, because it's just everything about that quest. Again, I'm not going to go into spoilers if you haven't played it yet, but do you know what one we're talking about, Dylan?
I don't know. Keep describing it. I probably have done it.
You basically, you have to go.
Is this a main quest or like a?
No, it's a side quest. Like, you hear tales of people getting murdered in this forest, and it's like they're blaming it on like these angry spirits or something.
Oh yeah, I just actually did that one an hour ago. Okay.
Nice.
I was curious if that was the same one.
Yeah, no, it's like Travis mentioned, like the visuals are so beautiful in it, and like there's just like an ominous like sound. I don't know if it's like, I can't quite remember if it's like just like the wilderness
The
or
Sasquatch.
Taylor's Sasquatch sounds.
Yeah.
But like there's just, yeah, there's something that you feel like, man, maybe there is like a ghost or something, you know,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
it has that presence on you. And that was where, going into it, I didn't want to like look too much into the game, because I didn't know if there was actual like spirits or like
Yeah,
monsters or
me
something that
either.
you had to fight, right? So that was just like like even now when I'm playing the game, I'm like, who knows, like maybe something is gonna pop up, and it's just it's something that I wasn't expecting. I don't think it will be, because up to this point it's been really realistic. But yeah, no, that one quest, that's probably one of my favorite side quests, honestly. And I love the way it ends too. Again, I'm
Mhm.
not gonna say how it ends, but
Well, you guys pointed out at the beginning of the game that has this like off-worldly sort of feel, and
Mhm.
that's those quests
yeah,
are like that, where it is like, okay, it's not, but even at the quests, they're like, well, you never know what's out there, and it's just like, and it
yeah,
is true, because like there is things where, again, it's not supernatural, but even when you start talking about poisons or people's beliefs and stuff like that, or
yeah,
fate, that's where it's kind of thing of, is there this, is there that? So it's, I I really like all those type of side quests, and again, same thing. It's almost like some sort of mythological thing could pop up, but I'm like, yeah, okay, I kind of buy it. So that's a good thing
yeah.
they've kind of done, where you
Mhm.
feel, even if it's not that type of world, you feel like it could be. So
Yeah, like, and it seems like they're really riding that line, especially like right at the beginning when I think you first get murked off that bridge, and then it's just you and your sword, and you're just so down and trodden, and you're just like, man, like I can't do anything. And then
yeah.
that's when like the first time like the wind exploration kind of comes in, and I really like, because it's not like a closed off answer. It's not like, oh yeah, it's your father guiding you, but like it kind of seems like it's that way, because like the wind is
Yeah.
wrapping around the sword, and it says, again, it's all in their beliefs, but it's like, yeah, like your father's soul is in this sword, and it's just, all right, like I'm buying it, honestly. Like
Yeah.
like what, like who am I to say? But I've just really liked how they're able to ride that line and not veer one way or the other, like fully, like kind of keep it open for the user, for the player. And they just do
Yeah.
such a good job with that.
One thing I want to comment on with the side quests as well. I think so the main story, there obviously is a lot of character stuff in there for Jin, but for the most part he is pretty quiet. He's a pretty reserved guy. Like at least when you're doing a main quest, usually there's some big important thing going on, and you're kind of more distracted focusing on that mission rather than having too much character stuff. Now there is a couple flashbacks that happen early on as more tutorial sequences, and then as you talk to like Yuna and stuff, you'll get more character things. But I think they also did a great job of putting some more interesting parts of his character or more nuanced parts into those side quests. So a couple of like examples. I guess one thing in general about Jin is that right off the bat, like of course he's just murdering people in cold blood. Like he's killing
Mhm.
hundreds of people at this point, without really thinking about it, without really contemplating it. And then I thought it was interesting. A couple quests like really kind of commented on that particular aspect of the character, whereas a lot of games I think just kind of ignore it. Like I think Uncharted, I think is a good example of that, where Nathan Drake is really just like a savage murderer, but he never really feels like that. He feels like a good, like cool guy.
Yeah,
Whereas in this game, like obviously he's just murdering people, and yes, they're bad people, but still, there's interesting like how the other Japanese characters that he's hanging out with comment on it. So there's one sequence where he's one of the Ishikawa side missions where they're just going along, they're doing some stuff, and they're talking as they're doing this mission, and they come across like these bodies that were shot down, and they're talking about how Jin's talking about the Mongols and how they just shoot them down for sport and stuff like that. And Ishikawa comments on he's like an archer, but he's not doing it to kill people. Like he's just he's just a skilled archer. And Jin, he just kind of passes off like his, I guess like this burden of all these people he's murdered. And then there's like another side quest where he's you're doing a mission with this healer, and this healer's you're trying to like get some resources because there's like this well that's
oh
been
yeah,
poisoned. Yeah, and you're trying to help these poor people who have been poisoned by this well. And he's commenting on the fact that the healer's commenting on Jin, the fact that Jin just went up and took out these Mongols without even thinking about it, and how he would have first gone to talk to them and see if there's a way to talk this through instead of resulting in violence. But Jin just kind of like passes it off. And I feel like though in those side quests is where I got a little more understanding of Jin, and that maybe he's not right in the head and he's not like this wholly good guy. Like he really is kind of fucked up in how many people he's just killing without really caring at all. And I
Yeah.
thought it was interesting that they put some more of those details in the side quests. And yes, I don't know how the story goes in the second or third act yet, so I'm not sure what happens to the character of Jin. But so far, I felt like there's been a lot of nice details thrown into the side quests that make them worth doing, not only for the rewards or for what we were talking about of feeling like it's warranted within the world, but also because you get some backstory on Jin as a character in just like those little moments as well.
Yeah, I'm really happy you brought that up because that's definitely something I noticed as well, is how they had I was gonna say like side quests that like accent the main quest, but it's not even the main quest. It's just the game in general. How and I really like the whole, because he's a samurai, you know, it's all about honor. It's all about basically challenging, like, you know, like you're battling for your honor. Like that's the ultimate test. That's why you're able to do these standoffs, right?
Yeah.
And I really liked how when they introduced like the whole stealth element and like assassinating people, and that's super dishonorable, and like it just basically goes against everything that he stands for. I just really liked how like conflicted he was. And honestly, that like impacted me like role playing the character. I'm like, hey, well, I don't really want to assassinate people in these encampments. You know, I want to walk up and just challenge them. Like, I am a samurai. I'm going to fight for my honor. And like, again, it's up to the user's discretion. Like, you could go assassinate everyone without even being seen, honestly. But I like that it incorporates that in the story. Like even just from side quests, like you're saying, like there's another one. I think it's when you're kind of like retaking like a blacksmith. I think it's like the armor or something, like when you get Taka to like start making weapons for you or whatever.
Okay.
But you're basically like saving the town, and there's like some villagers that you have to like rescue from the Mongols, and then you're like just bringing them back to this area, and there's just like a lady that's like commenting. It's just like you fight like a demon, like, you know, like just like, because in like the peasants view, like that's what they see, exactly what you just described, how like this guy is just so cold-hearted, like he doesn't even, he's not even flinching. He just murdered like like 16 people, you know, like right in
and then
front of
Jin's
us,
like,
just,
I only do that with the enemy.
yeah. Yeah, it's just like, but I don't know. And like he explains it like really brief there, but then down the line do another side quest like the monk one that you just described, where you're like with the people being poisoned by the well, and like it just gets sprinkled more, you know, from there. And then I'm sure if I do more side quests, it'll get brought up again. And again, like I didn't even mention how far I am in the game. I'm saying I'm pretty much the exact same as far as Dylan, and I'm already getting some inklings that there's going to be more of some internal domestic just conflict, whether it's from him and like the things that he has to do, or like him and his group, because obviously there's he's working with a thief, he's working with a Ronin at one point, he's working with like his lord, what's his uncle's name?
Shima, isn't it? Isn't it Lord Shima?
It's like Shimura or something like that.
Shimura.
But there's a U in there.
That's the name of the keep that you go to fight, isn't it? I'll see if I can find it here.
Yeah, you got it open, but yeah, we'll call him Uncle. So like he's obviously all about the samurai way. So I like there's just so many different like viewpoints and sides, and I really like this little.
It is
motley
Lord
crew.
Shimura.
Okay, yeah.
Shimura, there we go.
And it is that you do raid Castle Shimura though. That's
okay. Yeah. It's his castle. I mean, if I had a castle, I would name it Kirklin Castle. So let's go. But I've just really liked this motley crew that we've assembled, and I'm sure there'll be more characters that kind of get introduced. But at least for Act 1, that core, I really like them. And like you guys were mentioning, like the lady Masako, is that her name?
Masako, yeah.
Yeah, Masako. Like she's a wild card in my eyes. Like I'm like, I don't trust this chick to as far as I can throw her, but she's definitely a cool character.
Yeah, I love her. She's probably my favorite so far. I just like how savage she is. She just like she's on this, I don't know, blood path to just take out as many Mongols as possible. And it's funny because it's like it's kind of like grading. Like some characters, they're like, okay, you go in first, take out as many as you can, and like open this gate, we'll come in. But Lady Masako, no, she just flies in. She does not care about stealth. She just flies in and starts fighting like 20 dudes at once, and you're like, shit, I gotta go back her up now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the strongest part of the story to me. Is like I said, the story overall gets better, a bit more generic, but is the character dynamics. It is funny that like there's been lots of jokes in comparing this game to Batman. And I secretly think these developers like, a lot of bad stuff, because there's a sword that is literally a quote from the Dark Knight, and it's like kind of named after it. So, but I always think about that because there's things in this that I always think about, like, oh, it's similar to Batman, and it's even similar to Jedi, the way of like some people look at the samurai and they're like, they're true to the code. We can't trust them because they're going to look out for the honorable thing instead of what's best for the people. But then I have to sit back and think, well, Batman's based off a ninja and Jedi are based off samurai. So it's like that weird like Inception thing where it's like, oh, this is like Jedi, but really it's like, no, Jedi were like samurai, and that's why this is like just exactly like that. And that's the fun dynamics of why Dark Knight's my favorite movie. Is Jin is, and I think lots of the other people, and you even get that in Act 1, so it's not a spoiler, but it's just kind of like, how far are you willing to go to stop an enemy, right? Do you have to give up your moral codes? Do you have to do things that you wouldn't have done before? Do you peel back, go, no, we got to stick to the path, even if that means the death of hundreds and thousands? And you see that with multiple characters, even with the enemies, with the uncle, with him. You see that with everybody. It kind of reflects people in a different way. Like you're talking about Lady, she just goes, doesn't matter. These people killed her family. These people killed her grandchildren. Some really great stuff in the story. Like I said, Myers point, but these are anything we're giving you is like you learn like the first hour or two of meeting these characters. It's nothing. If you're playing this game, it sets you on the path, and that's where you see it affect everybody, and that's what I love. I think with Jin, my only complaint is I think they could have made him a little younger at times, because sometimes, and I think it's just the flaw of you have to play as that character, so when you're learning things, he has to act a little naivety, and like there's just times where he just conversations with uncle, to me is like, I don't know what his age is, right? To me, I feel like he's almost like late 30s, almost 40s, just by the way they've made the character look. But I feel like they should have made him a little younger, because I think it just at times he's kind of like, is this what I should do, or this what we should do? It just sometimes seemed okay. It could have been a little younger, but I love all the back and forth with him. I love all those flashbacks with Uncle. They give you great context, and you get all those throughout the games of getting you context on their relationship, more on him. So I think with Jin, for the most part, I like everything they do there. And I was definitely the code breaker guy. Didn't matter. Yeah, it's, it's against our morals, but we got to save these people, man. And if I got to hide on a hut for 2 minutes and throw a wind chime and get somebody, I'm doing it. I'm not waiting around Uncle Samurai. Like, no, we're not doing this the honorable way. Look what happened. We lost so many people on the beach. So, and there's something that I cannot wait till you guys finish this game, because there's something that I'm very interested to see in a sequel, what they would do, that just certain story points they not necessarily leave open, but just things they do with the story near the end. And it was stuff where, again, I think the ending does get better. I think the villain is he's just very big guy evil. He's just, I'm here to kill everybody and I'm right. And you're like, okay, here we are. But the thing, I guess I haven't even said, just the character designs, they all got really cool armor and stuff like that. Like, I guess that's kind of with the visuals, but I feel like even some of the bosses you fight are different. And as far as like kind of combined with the story, that's what I love about the duels, is each duel feels different. And there's been duels where honestly I have first try done it so easy and be like, I'm nailing this. And then there's some where I'm just like 5 or 6 deep in, and I'm like, fuck, I'm never gonna get this, like there's one where I just fucked a guy up, and there's others where it's very tough. So I like that. And the last thing I'll say is too, it's funny because I think it's with certain districts, but with the standoffs, I had a record. I was like 50-60. And then once I got to the third act 3, I'm like 2 and 30. Like it sucks. They get so quick, and their psych outs get so much better. And I just feel like an idiot. I'm like, I'm gonna get this standoff, and then it doesn't happen. Like, fuck, you just feel dumb. So I'm just like, I'm gonna stop the standoffs. But I always go for it because it's so cool. Just like, and we talked about this on Adam Man, and we talked about this already in the openings. But you can tell these people making this game have such a love for the samurai genre. They named that mode Kurosawa mode. That's after the famous samurai director. But it is even little things when you do the standoff and he like clicks his sword, and I wish that was different a few times, because every standoff is kind of like that, but still, like, it gets me hyped, especially if I haven't played in a while. I get back in, I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. So I
haven't played in a while. You played every day since it's come out. It's been out for like how many days?
I meant like a few hours. Like, if you do it all day, and you play like 4 duels, by the end, like, you see Jin and he does the same sword animation every time. You're like, okay, I just want to fight this guy. But when you're back into the next day, you're like, yeah, let's fucking go pop that like tiger like fur sword going on.
Oh, man, I've been rocking that one. It looks so nice.
Oh yeah, I have a white one that Gwen chose for me to wear, and that's the one. It doesn't go with my outfit at all, but I'm rocking
like the snow leopard one, because I do have that one.
Yeah, that's the one.
I switched to the orange, like the Bengal tiger one, just because it fits my aesthetic right now.
Yeah.
There was a lot there. I don't know.
I know there's a couple things I was gonna jump in on, but sorry, what were you gonna say, Dylan?
My bad.
I think I'll just jump in on the boss fights, and we can talk, and then we can, I guess, transition, just talk about the combat in general. But I like the boss fights. I do have a couple like problems. One, And this is what makes me think that maybe the mission you guys are talking about with the spirit, maybe I'm thinking about a different one, because I just did that mission an hour ago, and that boss fight's in like this really cool arena with all these white flowers and like a bunch of like trees and twigs and other people around you too. Is that the same
That's
arena?
different one. Different one.
Okay.
Different one. Yeah.
Okay,
This one
it's
has
funny.
no
It's like
boss
this
battle.
similar.
Yeah.
It's like the similar setup as well. But
Is that one where you get like a mythic item or something, like the one you're describing, Dylan?
yeah,
Yeah. So
I've done-
what we're
yeah,
talking
I've
about
done
is
that
just
one
like a
too.
random side quest, like an NPC.
I
Just
think
like
that
talk
one
to
I'm
us.
talking about is like one of the musician quests. But
Yeah. No, I
anyway,
know exactly which one
I've
you're
done,
talking about.
Yeah, I've done the one Dylan has too. Yeah, because
Yeah.
there is a setup of like it's kind of spooky, and that duel
Yeah.
is really cool. I get all the duels too. They always do a
Yeah,
good job of like
it's-
the
I got
settings really
yeah,
awesome.
I got murked hard by that person.
Well, I know, because my problem with it is that the frame rate tanked. Like the game, the presentation
Really?
of like it's slowed down by, it felt like at least like half speed. Like it
dear.
was moving really slowly.
That sucks.
I've noticed that like this game runs at 30 frames per second, as most PS4 exclusives do, like the Horizon Dawns and Death Strandings of the world. But a lot of the time when there's a lot of shit going on, it feels like it's running around 20, 15 sometimes. It really does
Oof.
chug and struggle at times. And I've always heard on podcasts and stuff, people complain about their PS4 being really loud. Never been a problem for me. I've never noticed it. I'm noticing it with this game. It is struggling to run this game at times. So I noticed that fight in particular, it just was so slow, and that's what made it difficult. And this is kind of my biggest problem with boss fights, is after you fail a boss fight like 3 or 4 times, it'll give you more resolve for the next time you do the
Yeah.
fight. And
Does
then
it actually?
yeah, I want to say after you maybe lose 4 times, it gives you another like resolve token, and then it will keep
Oh,
doing
wow.
that the more you lose. So I really don't like that, because it feels like instead of me actually getting better at the fight, learning it and conquering it, it feels like, okay, I'm just getting more and more handicap.
Yeah.
And then after a while, if you lose it enough, it says, "Do you want to switch to easy mode?" Which is kind of classic. That does, some games offer
Yeah.
like do have that. It's kind of become a more common thing. But I really, really, really don't like that it manually turns it on easy mode for you by way of giving you more resolve tokens, and there's nothing you can do about it. Maybe in hard mode that doesn't happen.
Yeah, that
Not
does not
sure.
happen, because I'm playing on hard mode and that does not happen for sure.
Okay,
There's been a
so
few
yeah.
fights I go in with 5 resolve or whatever like my maximum resolve is, and then I'm like, all right, I got this guy, get killed like instantly, and then I have 0 resolve, and I'm like, fuck, now I'm at a disadvantage.
really, yeah,
So,
that's
yeah.
super weird. I guess maybe I need to switch to hard mode or something. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's something that really, really bothered me, because I'm playing on like the middle difficulty. It's like I'm not expecting just like some handhold story mode. Like I just like to play on normal usually the first time I play through a game, so that I'm not, I don't know, like frustrated by it. And I don't know. I guess I should switch to hard mode, because that's something that
Yeah.
really bothered me about.
No,
these
I think you
boss
should, especially like when you're able to like take down like a group of Mongols. You just feel so satisfied, because
Mhm.
there was like a good
Yeah.
amount of time that any time, when there's like those little convoys of like Mongols on horses,
Mhm.
there was literally a time I don't think I killed a single group of them. Like it was probably like 0 and 20. Like honestly, they would just slap me
Wow.
around. I'm
Nothing
like,
more embarrassing by
getting
getting fucked
confidence
up
now.
by.
Yeah, I'm getting confidence now. Do my standoff, kill like the first few guys pretty quickly, and then like the one brute comes in swinging his hammer, tosses me in, like just yeah, it is horror show. Saturday morning, man. That was when I had to
Yeah.
take my break.
That's interesting, because I actually really like the difficulty curve of the game, other than the boss fights. Like I feel like it's at a really good level where I do have to redo a couple things, but for the most part, it's like I'm still cruising through at a good speed. And it is difficult when there's like 4 or 5 guys piling on you, and they'll attack you sometimes at the exact same time. They'll just
Oh,
throw
yeah.
multiple
Oh,
strikes
yeah.
at you. So yeah, I don't know. I don't actually know if I want to switch to hard mode. It just sucks for the boss fights that I really
Well-
don't like. That I don't feel like I'm overcoming it in the same way.
It's definitely that difficulty curve that you were just describing, but like probably just turned up a few levels. Because like I said, like Saturday morning, man, like that was the lowest point for me in this game, and I was legit like, man, I gotta turn this difficulty down or something, because I'm getting nowhere. Like I can't even fight like the groups of Mongols,
Mhm.
And then sure enough, you get a few like technique points, you get a few upgrades. I was texting you, Dylan, and like you were saying like basically upgrade your gear, and like I literally had not done that. I don't know why. I just like didn't know that was a
Yeah,
thing.
the
I, like,
sword upgrades change everything.
oh yeah, like when
Yeah.
you're able to kill guys in just way fewer hits, like that makes
Yeah.
a big difference, combined with some cool technique points. That helped me so much, and I feel like just getting used to like the timing on parries and just a lot of that stuff. Like now I'm pretty like I can go quite like a few hours without dying like
Nice.
now. So it's definitely like you just gotta learn them. And I mean, like you've been playing it for, like you said, over 20 hours. I'm sure you wouldn't notice too much of a difference because the main mechanics are there, right?
Yeah, I wonder how much. Maybe I'll try it out just to see what it's like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just love the combat in this game because one, I just think they nailed the controls of it. Like just the controls in general in this game. There's a lot between switching between your ranged weapons, switching between your ghost weapons, and then your different modes. It's all really, really quick to do. It's all like tied to a different button, and then you just like D-pad
Yeah.
or the sacred symbols on a different side, and then you like switch to a new mode, which I think is really, really crisp. The modes are cool because like he has a obviously they're different like stances, so he does physically stand in a different way, and then they kind of counter a different enemy type. And then you can get some crazy upgrades for him. Like one of them, you do like just like a spinning move, and you can upgrade it so that you can do that like 3 times in a row. So you're just like essentially a spinning top. Like you're just Beyblading these fools, just spinning around in circles,
That's
doing shit tons
hilarious.
of damage. So much fun. So yeah, I really love the combat, and I like that. Like just to, I guess we can talk about maybe the character building and stuff after, but I've like the way I built it was I feel I'm very much like a stealth player. That's what I do. I try to take out as many guys as I can before getting into combat, and then when I do, I don't reload or anything. Like I just let it happen. That's kind of how I think that's kind of how the game is designed. You're supposed to knock off a few variables and then just go for an all-out battle.
Yeah.
And I think it works really, really well. I feel like I have a very scrappy style. Like I'm using, I leveled up the evasion skill tree first, which gives you some things like you can do a running charge into an enemy and just like knocks them onto the ground. You can, I think that's the one that gives you a roll. Like you just get like more kind of movement abilities.
Yeah.
And then even one of the stances has like this kick that launches enemies back.
My favorite stance. Yeah.
Yeah, because I love cheesing enemies and trying to knock them off cliffs. I just find that hilarious in every game I've ever played, like GTA or Dishonored. I just find that so funny doing that. That's like one of my main. I feel like I'm just a very scrappy player, and maybe different to like how a samurai should fight, but I just find it so much fun.
I kicked one off a bridge into the water. It was very satisfying because it killed them. It was a deep water.
And
so
they scream when they fall off the cliffs too.
Yeah, I like all those stances. My favorite is win just because that kick reminds me of like a super kick in wrestling. But yeah, I like that they're all distinct, and I love it's very flawless just how you switch back and forth between them. And yeah, I think I had another point about the combat, but I'll probably think about Kirklin anyway.
Yeah, I love the stances. I honestly was not expecting that going into this game. I played Neo. That's like another like it's more of a Souls-like game, but it's got the Japanese samurai aesthetic to it, and that is all about stances. And that's like one of my favorite mechanics about that game is just the different stances and stuff. So I was just so over the moon when I found out that they actually have them in there. You unlock them. They actually they counter different enemies. I feel like it makes sense for like the way that they were able to incorporate it. It's smooth when you're switching. Like a shield guy will come out, so I'll quickly switch to water, and then like I basically just like stagger him as like a pole arm is like jabbing me. So then I'm able to like dodge, quickly switch stance. And like, especially now that I'm just getting a lot more comfortable with the mechanics, it's so satisfying, man. Like it just feels so good, especially like when you start getting those, I think they're like the mythic abilities or something. Like one of them is Heavenly Strike.
Yeah.
That's like probably my favorite move in the game, honestly. Like it's so good for just like finishing guys off. You get a few hits in and then you use Heavenly Strike, just destroy them. But yeah, my favorite stance is probably water. Honestly, I love when you're able to just charge it, and I have it maxed, so I get like 5 flurry strikes off. And like when you're using it on a brute or something, or like not necessarily a brute, but like a big shield man, because I think the brutes are the guys with like moon stance counters, right?
Yeah,
it's just the guys that are heavier set in general, I think.
Oh, okay. But like, does it counter more if they have a shield or not? Or
is just their shield? They're still a shield guy. That's like even if it's a huge shot, that's still shield guy. If it's if it's just a brute with nothing, or like you said, the whatever that gun thing is, that's in the stone.
Yeah.
Stance,
so the big shield guys, you get like a fully charged flurry strike off on him, and it just looks so funny because you just like bang his shield out of the way, and you just like slap him around with your sword or your katana, and it just feels so good. And yeah, I absolutely love the combat. You guys were mentioning just like the different gadgets and ghost weapons that you're able to use. I am still not 100% like efficient at like switching from like my kunai to like the smoke bomb or something. I feel like sometimes I kind of fumble. Like sometimes I'll think it's like the left trigger or like right trigger or vice versa, whatever one it is. And then I'll like pull out my bow or something. It's like, oh no. And then it's so unforgiving, the combat.
It's
guy just
cool
comes
that you can at least set which one is the default. I think that's
Oh,
really
okay.
cool.
Can
Yeah,
you actually?
yeah. In your gear menu, you can select which one will just be up
Oh.
by default. So I
Oh,
usually leave
that's
on the
nice.
kunai because that's the one I'm using a
Yeah.
lot. But let's say you're like doing a stealth sequence, you could switch it to the smoke bomb that way. That's just like
Yeah.
right there on
That's
one
good to
click
know.
away.
I'm glad you mentioned
Yeah,
that.
my
'Cause-
my horse got a few smoke bombs early on. We were talking about like that. Like it's for a while. Every time the horse was coming to me, I thought R1 was to jump on. But like, so every once in a while, I would just be like,
Your horse is like,
and I
where'd
was
he go?
Oh, no.
Well, isn't
Yeah,
that what
like,
it, that's
oh,
like what
no.
it is in Last of Us, right? I heard someone talking about that.
I
too.
think so. Yeah. So I just naturally kept doing it. I was like, fuck, especially with the kunais. I was like, I want those because that is literally just the quick batarangs in Arkham Asylum. So
Yeah.
anytime I love doing that, just throwing
They
them
do
out
so
like
much damage
like
too.
once you get up to oh yeah, once they get up to like 5, you literally just kill them. But yeah, that nothing's more satisfying when you're solo in life. You just throw them out and then you go all over. I don't know where you guys are if you've gone this, but have you guys gotten anything called Ghost Dance yet?
No.
No.
Okay, just wait. I'm not gonna say anything. It will be your favorite stance. Oh my god, it is just this cool, very awesome thing they put in the game, and it's just like you talk about visuals. It is just stunning, and yeah, if people play
I'm
the
so
game and they've gone
excited
that
now.
far, yeah, it's really cool. It comes in, I think, kind of like mid to late, and it's just I didn't think anything more because you kind of get out your stance. You're like, okay, here we go, and then they introduce this thing, and it's a really cool mechanic. And yeah, and all those gadgets like you guys talk about, I like them all. Yeah, the kunai is my favorite, but the smoke bombs effective. I love all the assassinations. I love that you get those chain assassinations as well, which lots of games have, but I still appreciate they're there. And like I said, I love at the beginning, I like the majority of the upgrades for the ghost because that's my play style. So even there's like that red aura around a guy that if you assassin them, there's a chance or you will be seen. So that's nice, especially if you're playing stealth and whatnot. So, and I think stealth too, it's fun because there's not there's a house that you can get into, but sometimes you can't even climb the house. You got to get it inside or you got to go under. So not every house is, oh, you can just walk to it and jump to it. Where at first that's what my initial inkling was like, okay, it's kind of like we've joked Assassin's Creed, but Japan, like they're doing that. Anything Assassin's Creed, you can just climb, right? And I kind of thought that at the beginning, like, oh, I'm just going to walk over and climb this. But no, you might have to get a specific box. You might have to get a specific wall. Or like I said, you got to get a ladder, which it might be better for you to get the high ground in this to get the stealth, but if there's 2 guys inside, what do you do, right? So I think sometimes the stealth can be a little easy as far as 2 guys will see you, a horn will blow, but as long as you kill those 2 guys, the other people are just like, well, I guess that horn meant nothing. It went back to just like regular life. That's when I would say like Last of Us, I love the stealth, and the stealth is just punishing in that game where if you're seen, you're done for, you won't get you're not off the hook. Where in this game, you kind of have that GTA thing sometime where there can be a bunch of bodies, but if you hide behind a dumpster long enough, they're like, well, the ghost must be gone, and they just go back to the regular patrol. I hope in a sequel we kind of get that upgrade a little bit more as like a better stealth, more punishing, I think, because I think there's at times it is, but not because of the difficulty, just because maybe there's 10 guys instead of 5.
Yeah.
Well, I actually, so I think it works pretty well in that, like, if they do find a body and they're doing their patrols, like they'll call that out and get, like, they'll blow their horn or whatever. I think that, so I thought that worked pretty well. I love the maneuverability, as you mentioned. Like, I love you go under houses, you go through windows, you're climbing around rooftops. I really like that. So I think it works pretty well. And I will say, I also like yesterday or the day before, I switched to the like expert HUD or whatever. I forget what it's called. But one of the things that does actually is it takes away the indicator over top enemies' heads that shows how much awareness they have of you, because it's like a bar that fills up, and then when it's filled, they know where you are. If you turn on that HUD option, it takes that away. So I think it actually adds a little bit more to it, like where there's more ambiguity. And I don't have that ability that you mentioned yet, where it shows you that it's going to alert someone if you assassinate them, because I kind of like not having that one. Actually, I like having to like judge for myself if I think that's going to alert someone. So I think they're like I do think the expert mode makes it a little bit more challenging to do like fully successfully. But
when you're in expert mode, I literally just switched it to it today. I wanted to do it early on, but I was scared it was gonna be like a tutorial message or something that I would miss. Does it still show like the standoff option, or do you just have to hit the button?
It does. It still is the standoff.
Oh, okay, that was my biggest question, because
it shows a lot of stuff still on the HUD, and like when you get near an item, it'll still you'll still have to right click it. It'll still not right click, but right trigger. It doesn't take away as much as I wanted it to. I kind of wanted it to have nothing on the HUD, but it still does show a lot of stuff. It takes away. It's weird. Like I like that it takes away the stealth thing, but then I find it kind of strange that it also takes away the like merchant symbols above their heads. Like I like that, but I think it's kind of strange that that's one of the things that it takes away.
Right.
Overall, I recommend it if I guess if
Yeah.
someone's
Does it
listening to
still
this and hasn't played
show?
the game yet, I recommend turning on expert HUD option just because it's a little bit more immersive, takes away some unnecessary stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely like my play style. I
Mhm.
prefer to just basically have no HUD if I can. Like pretty
Yeah,
much, it sounds like that's the way that you think too. Does
I
it
think so.
still show like the red X's or something like when you're in combat, like your dodge indicators or your parry indicator? Like does it still
Yeah,
show that stuff?
that
Okay.
stuff is still there, and then it does still show. One thing I wanted to shout out earlier, I forgot to, was during some fights, the Mongols will go after like peasants or prisoners that you're trying to free, which I
Hmm.
think is really cool because it adds this intensity to the fight
Yeah,
where, oh
Totally.
shit, I'm over here, but these guys are going for it, and it keeps those on the screen still, which I think without it it'd be kind of
That
impossible. So it's
everything you just answered was like my
yeah,
hesitance on why I wasn't using this mode. So I'm glad I got to talk
yeah.
to you and clear that up because I wanted to go that route, but like I said, I was a little worried I'd miss some tutorial messages or
Hmm.
something.
I
And
it's I like the mode. I think it's fun, but I also do see it as a bit of a criticism that there isn't more customizability there. I've been playing Hitman 2 recently. Hitman 2 is like UI part of the menu has like 20 different options for any possible marker you could think of in the game. It's like, do you want it on? Do you want it on sometimes? Do you want it on like transparent? Do you want it off? It's like so fucking good.
January,
I've never
Hitman
seen a
3,
game
baby.
with so many
Let's go.
options in the UI section of the game. And so I think I'm also a bit biased coming off of that game, coming to this where it's like the options are very, very minimal. There's not much you can change at all. I mean, it's cool, as we mentioned, there's the Kurosawa mode, but really there's not even some like what feels like basic options in there. So that's a bit of a bummer.
If you want, if you
Go ahead.
want to play with less color, the Kurosawa mode is the way to do it because I play in that, and I'm gonna do it more now that I'm finished it. But some of those, like the orange attack or like when it's the blue attack that you
Oh, yeah.
encounter, you don't see it that much. So it's all. So like if you want a real challenge too, put on expert mode and go
That's
black
so
and white,
funny.
and that is because I tried the first time, like especially early on, like I don't fucking know when these guys are coming at me, and when I can't, like, is this a blue? Is this an orange? I don't
That's
know.
so
So
funny.
there's that's your ultimate right
I
there.
was talking to a buddy at work, and he's only played in Kurosawa mode. He said he turned
Oh,
on color
nice.
mode for like couple minutes, and he's like, "No, I gotta do black and white or whatever." I'm like, "All right, man. Like you're missing out so much on the visuals, but like to each their
But
own. Different strokes.
they even did the audio different. If you play the Curacao, it sounds like an old
A
like
little fuzzy or
50s,
something."
60s. Yeah, it's like muffled like that. Like it's really cool and it's really well
Oh,
done.
okay.
It's the thing that I've played with more now that the game's over. But it is, we talked about this before, where it is such a cool mode. But at the end of the day, I don't think this is controversial. There's a reason film became colorful, and I love films and seeing all the color. And that's the thing where it is really cool. And I think maybe one day if they do a new game plus mode, which I think they've said they are or whatnot, I don't know when, but that's where I might go, okay, let's do the whole thing in that. But the visuals, as we talked about many times, the colors were just, there's be times where I'd go into a new location with the Kurosawa, I'm like, oh, this looks great. And then when I turn on the color, I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is,
Yeah.
I don't want to say so much better because it all comes down to your preference. But for me, it was like, man, these colors, like these white, like spider lilies, I got to see them all, just the red and the white leaves. Like I just couldn't not have that mode on.
Yeah.
So
No, yeah. Anytime I think of doing the Kurosawa mode, I like have those moments because I literally like just get like captivated in these scenes. I'm like in the middle of
Yeah.
a quest and they're like waiting for me on the trail because I'm just like zoned out on like on the ridge or something because the sunrise is coming over and you just see like the tall grass just swaying or something. Like it's just so freaking gorgeous. And I just every time I play, like that's where I find myself literally just wandering in the woods. It's just like, oh, there's a fox. Let's go find him. And then like I'm not even thinking
oh
that
yeah, you get
there's
lost all the
Mongols
time.
that have my uncle, like captured. I'm like, oh shit, maybe I should go find him. But
Is this the best looking game you guys have ever played? I'm having the internal debate. For me, it's like, is it Horizon Dawn or is it this game? And
I've
I
never
don't
played
know.
Horizon Dawn. I will say yes, this is the best looking game I've ever played. Just honestly for like the lighting and visuals alone, and like the effects that the grass has and everything, and I just I'm literally in awe. I remember listening to you guys Out of Mana episode when you're talking about it, and like in that 18-minute video they were showing off like the camera mode,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like there'll probably be a lot of cool like posts on Twitter, because it's cool that it just has that options for people to take it. Dude, I've taken like 7 screenshots, honestly. I'm tweaking
He's
them.
that guy.
And
I'm
that's
getting
a lot
like
for you.
I'm getting like the different depth of field and everything. That is a lot for me. Yeah. I'm getting the different depth of field options.
Yeah.
You can change the time of day in there. Like there's just you can change Jin's like facial reactions.
Yeah,
It's just
it's really fun.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm never gonna touch that. But
I'm in the
these
same boat.
scenes are so gorgeous.
I very rarely use that feature in games, but man, I had this one where I was like at this little farm village on the East Coast. I highly recommend. It's like there's no crucial quest down there. Go to the southeast part of the like first section of the map. Absolutely beautiful, like little farm, terrace farm area there. And I had this
Okay.
one screenshot where I'm just chilling outside this farm. There's a house, and I have it perfectly lined up so the sun is shining through this window that's like guiding toward
Oh,
me.
nice.
And then
Yeah.
there's like another cliff kind of way off in the distance. Oh, so
Oh
nice.
yeah, I've
So
gotten a
good.
couple. I've gotten creative with it, where I'm like, man, like I'm more artistic than I thought I was. Getting
Mhm.
these camera shots, and it's just crazy that like,
You can make little
oh,
videos too, or like little gifs or whatever. I don't
oh,
know
can
how.
you actually? I didn't
Yeah,
know
you can
that.
have like separate stuff. I don't know how it works. I haven't really done that, but you
Yeah,
can make little
I've
videos.
only taken like the odd screenshot here and
Hmm.
there, just because, man, it's just like I'm wandering through a field on my horse, and like literally like the
Yeah.
lighting is just absolutely gorgeous. I'm like, gee, like I can't believe this is the game. Like this just looks so good.
Yeah, I would say it's up there for me. I'd have to play Horizon again, which I want to try before the first one comes or the second one comes out. This one's so fresh in my mind, but to me, it's I could just put a stamp and say it's a top three for sure. You know, like it sounds like a cop up, but honestly, like some like seeing Smash in HD was it's not one of the nicest games, but just like it has
That's a
that
good
like
point,
Spider-Verse
honestly.
quality where it's just like it's like a coloring book or like a cartoon come to life and stuff. So there's like I've tried to thought of like other type of genres of games, but as far as something that's kind of like this natural realism, I think this is definitely up there. And just in the game, not counting like a cutscene, like cinematic
Yeah.
cutscene, because obviously that can change a lot of things, right? But it's definitely top three for sure. There's many times where it's just even we talked about this. I think when the game was revealed that even when I was like, I don't know what the gameplay is going to be because they to me still didn't show it the best in trailers. Maybe they just wanted to keep it kind of secretive and have that wow when you started playing it. But I was like, you could still buy this game and have it as like a Japan simulator and find it as a great game, you know. And that's where even just visually, it's stunning. So
Dude, I'll
Yeah.
I'll back you up on that Smash pick. I think that's actually one of the best games or best looking games I've played.
it's great. Well, you have so many different characters and the
Oh
stages, and
yeah.
it just like the animation just looks so
When you
like
get the knockout on
flawless.
DK and his eyes like explode and it just
Yeah.
looks so funny. Oh, I love like the zoom in shots, but you know, we're not doing a Smash review here. We're doing a Ghost.
I mean, I'm always down to talk about. They nail with Min Min, the newest character. Her animations are great. But speaking of
When's
that,
Jin gonna be in Smash?
Yeah.
oh my God, give it to me
He'll
tomorrow.
be in
Actually,
PlayStation All Stars.
I think I'd take. I think I'd
PS5.
take Aloy. I might take. Actually, you know what? Those stances could make for a really cool moveset. Anyway, I wanted to comment on the last. I guess the other part about the visuals, just like the animations. I think are incredibly good. Like even just Jin's running animation. I feel like it's the
Mhm.
best running animation I've ever seen. And I don't know. I feel like I haven't seen many people talk about this. I feel like a lot of that might be just because people are hot off Last of Us, which I hear has amazing animate, like just character animations, and even from clips I've seen, it's like wow, this game, just like the movement of it looks pretty fantastic. But I think they did a really good job in this game as well. Just Jin running around, climbing stuff. There's a lot of like random little things you can do in the game, like just like visually appealing things, I guess. So I think they really nailed it with the animations. Obviously, in the combat, that's part of it too.
Yeah.
But even just the basic animations of running around or getting on your horse, I think all that stuff looks really good as well.
Yeah,
So
I double
Mhm.
up that comment for sure. My favorite outfit to use is the Traveler's
Yeah, me
attire. I
too.
forget what it's called, or is that actually what it's called?
It is, yeah.
Traveler's something.
Mhm.
But dude, that cloak when it's windy and that cloak is just flying off,
Mhm.
I'm just like going through a field on my horse, playing
Mhm.
my flute, you know, like getting some songs off, just doing my duty as a samurai.
It's
And
cool too that when you upgrade your gear, obviously you get bonuses in terms of stats, but you also it adds more details
Dude,
to the costume as
I
well.
legit did not realize that till like yesterday, and I had like all of
Yeah.
them like leveled up, and then I went to like I think it's like the one that you get from Lady, whatever, Masako,
Yep.
from Lady Masako, like that armor. I'm like, I'm like, I didn't have a helmet before. What the hell? Like this is new. And then I'm like, oh shit! And then you can actually like go back and like switch the appearance to like
Yeah.
the earlier versions, which is cool.
Mhm.
So that was when I had like my my eureka moment. I was like, oh wow, I'm so, I don't know, oblivious, I guess, to missing
Yeah,
out on
well,
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's little details, but for me, it was with the Traveler's attire when I got to a certain upgrade point, and then there was like a design on the cape instead of just a cape. I was
Yeah,
like, oh man, that's a
yeah,
really cool detail that they put in
totally.
there.
Yeah, that's one thing I really gotta show is I love that you could have the same stats but with the old look. Because I remember when they're showing the preview where there's just certain armors where it's like, I like that armor when they're like, oh, it'll change your stats, which it still does, but I like that I could rock like the OG version 1, version 2 that I think may look better and have the same upgrades and not have to like sacrifice. So yeah, the two I use the most, I use the ghost one that you get later on, and then like this I think it's like the Sakurai armor or something like that. And it's like the big one. You guys have probably seen on Twitter mine where I got like the antler helmet and everything like that. Like
Yeah.
you get that one, I think maybe before Act 2 or something like that. I'm not sure when, but
It's in
I
Act
like
2.
that.
It's a side
Is it in
quest.
Oh, okay, yeah, and all the colors you can get with it too. Like that was my I always have like the Travelers was when I was going. That was my if we're going to a big battle set piece, I always put that one on. That was like my war armor. And then the ghost one is just it's really cool. And between that, the sword, I love that you can switch different headbands, stuff like that. So it's
Totally.
little stuff, but it makes you feel more connected to the character and to the world. It feels more like yourself. So
I love like, too the sorry, go ahead, Kirklin. Go ahead.
I was just gonna quickly say like the customization. It's not the best customization I've seen in a video game by far, but like I love everything that's there. You know, like if you have obviously like you unlock like the main outfits from let's just say the Ronin one, you know, so you get like that hat for that outfit, but like you can switch them off. You can totally like customize it to what you want. And I really like that. Every time I do the Lady Masako quest, I rock like her family's armor. I'm like, I gotta show some respect, you know. I love role playing within the games like that. So
nice.
What were you gonna say, Dylan?
Yeah, I was just gonna comment on it as well. Like, in Dark Souls 3 was one of my favorite games for costumes, just because some of them were super over the top and super weird. But also in that game, like armor for a game that's all about stats and upgrades, the armor does absolutely nothing in terms of stats and affecting your character and how tanky they are and stuff. So I just had this really awesome costume that I loved in that game. Or well, I was rocking a robe for a while, but then I also had this costume that was just kind of like this raggedy traveler's gear with a cape, and then I had the big hat, which is just this massive like witch's hat. I just love that aesthetic. I think it's so goofy, but also kind of awesome. And so I love that you have a wide selection of big hats in this game with the straw hats, because I've had like 2 or 3 different ones that I'm kind of switching between. I just love that aesthetic so much. So yeah, I really feel like I can rock my own look in this game. And I don't know how I feel about the fact that you have. I in theory I like having stats tied to costumes, because then it's a justification to switch stuff around. But yeah, I just love my current look, that I kind of keep it even if it's not preferable for the given battle.
You play games in the past where like you get certain stats from this outfit, but you're able to like kind of transmog it, you know, like make it look like something else. So
yeah, like Spider-Man kind of did that, where you have, each suit has an ability, but you can swap them out as much.
Totally. And like Neo, that was an example that had that. So I had like certain outfits that gave me different stats, but I had like the one outfit that I just thought looked cool, so I just would rock that version. But in this one, I pretty much just was rocking like the Traveler's attire. I think it's like one of the first ones you get too. It basically reveals more fog of war. The controller vibrates when you get near an artifact, so I found that handy, because you know I want to go for that completionist on this game, because it's just so goddamn gorgeous. But then I just fell in love with the look of the outfit, and now it's like this is the only one I want to rock, because I just love that cloak just flying in the wind. There's some certain outfits that have like maybe like a scarf, so it doesn't flow as nicely as the cape though.
Yeah, no.
You know, you got that Batman cape, Travis.
Oh, I know. Well, that's why the Traveler's there, and then the Ghost when you get later. That's my go-to, just because the cape. That's the only thing I hate about the armors. I wish you get armor with the cape. Then I'm just looking like full on Batman. But yeah, anything with the cape, I love it. It's just, even though there's one when you first get the Ghost armor, I was really disappointed, because I'm not sure if it was just the game was buggy that time, but it still happens quite a bit that when you're riding from behind, the cape is always going like in the middle of your body. So it would take me out of the immersion. Everything's looking great, but then the cape is just like glitching on your body. You just like your bud and sword sticking through, and it was like, like that kind of was a bummer and whatnot. And there's just like little things like that too. I forgot to mention my overall, and I just want to say it now before I forget. There's some things I don't understand when you have a cut scene and then you'll be with that same character and you'll walk for 30 seconds and it takes you right directly into another cut scene and it'll keep going and whatnot. So I feel like there's a few things, and that might just be loading or whatnot, but to me it stands out. And also you guys are talking about like no HUDs and things like that. I really hate, especially it feels like you just sometimes will go inches away. I hate when it's like you're leaving the mission area. You have 14 seconds. One, why is it 14 seconds? Like it doesn't why does that have to be so like, because sometimes there's been like I've been riding a horse and I like overshoot it and then I'm like, I better not lose this. Or like I said, that time where it just like glitched me out and I did a ride, but I don't know why it has to be so little. And two, it's just like I would understand if I'm miles away, but sometimes it feels like I'm a little bit, and all it would have to be is just pop on the screen like a little reminder, like go back to your ally, blah, blah, blah. Not like a whole you're leaving the mission area. And they would do that several times. And my last thing is too, there'd be times where I'd be going to try and go get a gift or go see a merchant because I would happen to ride by. And this doesn't happen with all of them. Some side quests or missions, you have to go talk to the person and it like triggers it. And other times you just have to be in their vicinity. So it's like before I want to go on this quest, I'd like to upgrade my armor and sword, but I just ride a little too closely to that person. Then it's like, Jin, we need you. And then you're in the mission and you're like, oh, well, I wanted to do some stuff before. So that's where there's like, it's minor stuff, but just minor things that remind me of that kind of happened in old gen games where it just feels like this is a little gamey. And it's weird because lots of the game isn't like that. It feels very this gen and it feels very advanced and it feels like I'm in the world. But then sometimes, like I said, it can take me right out of it. So just a few minor ones I just want to bring up because I might completely forget them. But yeah, those are just a few minor complaints that kind of took me out a little bit throughout my gameplay.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that. I think with that aspect of it kicking you or like reminding you that you're leaving the tail area, yeah, I think that's terrible. Like for a game that's open world and for battle sequences that are supposed to be pretty open in that where you enter the battle, where you do your stealth sequence, I think that's just a sin that they have it in there. And also, I don't know if you've ever let the timer run out, but if you run out, it doesn't just like put you back in the zone. It puts you back to the latest checkpoint. So you can straight up lose a bunch of progress, which happened to me once because I was out of the area and then I didn't want to reveal my position because there was tons of enemies that would have seen me if I left. There was no possible way for me to go back to the area without getting spotted. And then yeah, I just lost all that progress. I had to restart. So I thought that was really lame. That hopped in there. I'll piggyback my bugs and glitches right here because then we can go back on to more positive stuff after since you brought it up. But I don't know if you guys noticed this, but a few times when I killed spear enemies or ones with halberds, their weapon would fall and just spin like crazy, like a tornado on the ground and fly off the walls, bounce around. It's happened like 2 or 3 times for me. It's fucking hilarious. It's one of those glitches that I actually like because it doesn't have any consequence on the game. It's just really funny. And then it's really loud as well because it's like smashing stuff. So I thought that was funny. Here's one thing that's not really a glitch. It's intended, but it's super annoying. During some battles, particularly boss fights, actually this also happened during that fight I was talking about with the frame rate drop, where if like certain bosses will have like a certain stance or a certain style. And so it'll recommend, hey, switch to this stance because they're this type. Yeah. And it's not something that just like pops up on screen and lets you fight. It like essentially freezes the game and says, hey, you should switch to this stance. And then you cannot progress it until you switch to that stance. Most often, whenever that happened, I ended up getting hit for it because it was like it really halted the fight midway through and it threw me off. So I think that's awful because you don't need any stance to take out any certain enemy. Like that's just, there's a best way to take out every enemy, but you can use any style to take out any enemy. So I thought that was really savage.
Gotta
that
go
it actually,
hard mode, man.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't have that
pop up. Yeah,
it shouldn't do that on that. To me, sounds
turn
like
that
easy.
shit off, right?
That's,
that's a good point.
That's not a difficult
even
thing.
then,
that's like even the resolve, like getting resolve if you lose a boss fight. That should be an option you can turn off. That does, I guess it is in the way of turning to hard mode. But that, if that's something that they can turn off with a hard mode, that's something they should just put in the options already. In my opinion.
I agree. Yeah.
And then here's another really funny glitch that I had. One time I was chilling in a hot spring. Went to go have a nice relaxing bath in a hot spring, which is like this little animation where you just relax. You think about something peaceful.
Get naked.
Yeah, you get naked. I was chilling in the hot spring, and then some Mongols showed up and started shooting at me with a bow and arrow, and I couldn't do anything about it because it's this animation where you're just watching this little cinematic, and I was getting shot, and so my screen's like pinging red, and he's like, ah, oh, he's like damage.
Poor Jin.
Chilling in the bath.
Thankfully,
there was only 1 or 2 guys shooting at me, and I didn't die in the time that it took to do that. I think also, yeah, when you go in a hot spring, it increases your maximum health. So I think it fully healed me after popping out. But I thought that was pretty funny that could occur. And actually, I don't know if Kirklin, if you had any bugs or glitches you want to shout out. Did you?
I think I'd piggyback.
Okay, go for it.
I feel like I've been lucky because I've only encountered like a handful, and like I was like consciously thinking about it because like a game just at release you usually get some game breaking bugs or something. There was one, I think I was just climbing up a cliff. And I did like what Travis did where you just like froze. You're like doing that hover thing. And but then the screen just like went black and I just like was on the ground. It didn't reload a checkpoint or anything. It was literally just like I don't know, like it knew it was happening. So it just like brought me back to earth. It was one of those things. I've had a couple pretty hilarious like horse ones, honestly, where like I've been like running and then I think I do like a little jump and it's not like off like a cliff or anything. It's just like onto like another piece of stone, and my horse just like collapses, and my character like went flying. It was one of those where I just like laughed because it's just, especially when you're so immersed in the game, right? It's like you have like the ambient music of like just like the feudal Japan, and you're so immersed with like the light and everything, and all of a sudden your horse just falls and your character goes flying, and he does like those little pain noises. He's like it's just hilarious. And then there was another one at the Golden Temple, which is like probably one of my favorite locations, at least in the Act 1 area. It's so visually beautiful. I'm just walking. I think I was going to talk to Lady Masako, and there is this lady. She was like standing like up on these stairs. Like it was just like a flat platform, and then like a little like 2 steps or something. She was like, she literally like RKO'd herself and like landed on her back. Like it just looked so hilarious. And then when she got up, she like glitched up the stairs, and then she like did the same thing. It literally happened like 3 times, and I was just staring at her, just like belly laughing. Like it was just so hilarious. I was literally home alone, just like belly laughing at this bug. So those were the luckily I haven't had any that have like broke the game. Like I have seen like the countdown timers that you guys were describing. Like if you like for me, it was when I was following someone, I like lost sight of them. There was one, I guess it is kind of a bug, because I can't remember if it was like when I was with the monk, like going to like heal the poisoned, like that specific quest, but he basically, like, the cutscene ended, and then he was on his horse. He's like, come on, let's go. And then he's just like gone. I have to like call my horse. My horse isn't even there. And then it's like you basically have to like restart like the checkpoint, because he just like went, and I didn't have my horse at the start of the cutscene. So it was just, I don't know if that's a bug or if I was just late to my whistle. My horse was taking a shit or something. Who knows? But yeah. So luckily I haven't had too many bugs, but yeah.
Yeah, and one other thing, it's not really a bug, but I think it's a design choice. I wasn't a fan of, sometimes there'd be like a castle where it's all red, like other castles where you could go over and liberate them, and maybe it looks a bit bigger, but there was one time I was going to this quest, and there's a bunch of Mongols. It's like Mongol territory. So I'm like, oh, I'm here. I'm going to take it over. And the game tries to like trick you, and it's like, this area has an overwhelming amount of enemies. And I'm like, okay, this is a challenge. I'll take it on. But no, it's on purpose trying to kill you, because I've noticed I was doing this one over and over because I'm going to do this. So at one point, anytime I'd have my guard down, I'd be getting shot by arrows, and I didn't understand, and I take off all these guys. So at one point I was playing really safe, and I got shot by arrows, and I quickly turned the screen. There was not a single guy there. It was just the game sent arrows to get me away from this position. 100%. Yeah, I did everything. I had the sense. I'm like, I need to make sure, because it was one where I wasn't supposed to go to because the story didn't dictate that, but I didn't know that in the story yet. So I would kill them all, and I was hiding behind rocks. And then the second I let it go and like turned away from that side of the screen, it's like, because it was shooting at a rapid, like at one point there is guys that can shoot 3 arrows at a time, but this was like a guy had a machine gun of arrows, and it's like, oh, you've been killed again. But like I said, multiple times I would look over, like, it just doesn't want me to do it. And that's all to the game to say, this area is locked right now. That was so frustrating and annoying, where I just kept trying, and it was just, don't try and be cute of like, it's overwhelming, you should leave. Just like, you don't have the tools to do this area, because shrines do that. The shrines say you don't have the tool to complete the shrine. Okay, I'm gonna leave. No, I wasted half an hour trying to complete this territory, which I'm just not allowed to. So that's another weird thing where that kind of may be annoying. Or
I actually just saw that for the first time like half an hour before we started the cast. So good to know that I will not go back there until
that's a good PSA, because I haven't encountered that yet, but I probably would have been stubborn and been like, oh, I can do this, come on now.
Yeah, I just thought it was like, oh, it's a more almost like in a game where it's like you're level 100, but this is like a level 105, and you're like, you know what, I think I'm a good enough player, like I'm not that level, but I could do it. So that's why I thought this is like, oh, maybe you don't have the right stats, but if you really push yourself, you can complete this. I'm like, okay, overwhelming enemies, whatever. But no, it's overwhelming in the sense that the god games are out to get you. So that was my last like kind of con for that.
Yeah, it's good that at least most of like the bugs and glitches we had aren't game breaking. Yeah. I've had a couple that make me reset something, but nothing that's too bad. Like even
it's not like Fallen Order bugs.
No, it's not Fallen Order.
Oh my god, fuck that game sometimes. No, I think that's a good sign at least. And I think even then, like this game, you don't really you really only save at the end of your session pretty much.
Right.
Like even a lot of stealth games, that's a problem I have, is like this save scumming aspect of it, where you're constantly saving to reset situations. I talked about it in Out of Mana, actually. Go check that episode out. But it's something that's kind of a problem with the genre, I think, and maybe there's some solutions to it, but I like that this game doesn't really have that. Like, it saves pretty often, good checkpoints. Like, sometimes you have to restart a camp, but most of the time I've found that it's pretty accurate. Like, it doesn't send me back a frustrating amount, it sends me back an amount that's deserved. So shout out to the game for doing that and not having me not making me focus on that part of the game at all, because no one wants to do that, you know.
No, exactly. I'll just mention some cons that I've had, because they're pretty minimal. Because I mean, as you can tell from this review, I can't wait to get back in this game, you know, let alone review it. But definitely doubling up on what Dylan says, just with like the cutscenes and how, because I have not played in English. I put it on for like probably like 1 second, and as soon as I heard Jin's voice, I'm like, nope, just switch it right back to Japanese. But it definitely takes away like the immersion when you see these characters mouthing like English words and it's a Japanese man. It's just like I'm hearing them in Japanese, and the Japanese voice is so good, but unfortunately they don't have like the lipping.
I eventually stopped noticing it, and I haven't used English once, and now it's fine. So
yeah, no, I'm 100% the same. Like, even in cutscenes, there's an option where you can make it so you're always wearing a mask in cutscenes, which helps. So I can't see my character's mouth moving. It doesn't the other characters, obviously, but I mean, a lot of the times too, when I'm like just reading the subtitles, my eyes aren't on the characters' mouths. You know, it's below, and then kind of like
I had to kind of train myself that opposite way, but now I just like don't look at their mouths when they're talking.
Yeah, and it definitely took took me out of it probably until like you really start the game. I'd say like because in the intro it's all like the cutscenes, you know, and like that's really important. And when it's all in Japanese and you're like, oh no, like that kind of sucks. And then there is the scene, I think it's after like the tutorial. Maybe it's not, but it's when like your father dies, and then you're basically going to like that shrine to like say goodbye to him. And like the acting wise was so good. Like from your uncle, there's a moment that it looks like he's like, because he's based like, you know, he's this honorable man. He's not supposed to be like showing affection or like emotions, but like you can see him almost breaking and like about to cry. And I just thought it was so like well acted, and like it just looks so good. But the words are mouthed in English, and it just like it had that disconnect, and that's something that I couldn't ignore. It would have made it 100 times better if they went through that effort of making it in Japanese, especially like this game is reviewing well in Japanese, and they've done such a good job at like holding true to those like those ancient traditions, and like it seemed like they're really going out of their way to make it right. So
it really honestly made me feel like something I hadn't really thought about before. Like I guess we're very fortunate that a lot of the games, most of the games that we play, have that as a thing, right? Like for our language, at least, like English, English is always like dubbed over, and whether or not it's something that is like a Japanese game that they did the English for, or if that's just how they did it by default, it's something that maybe I didn't get enough credit to. It's not something I ever really thought about until this game. So
yeah, no, for sure. And so that's something I had to mention, especially like one of my favorite characters is actually like the Khan. He like, is that a real actor? I feel like I recognize him from something. Maybe not. Maybe he's just got like, maybe he's just a
voice
Mongolian.
Actors are real actors, Kirklin.
But well, I don't think the Japanese guy is the same guy that's playing the mocap man, because I would say he's an Englishman because I can read his lips. But just like he almost feels like a Thanos type villain, at least in like the intro act. Like his persona that he has, he just like knows all the answers. He's just like he's just such an intimidating man. I don't know what it is about him, but I really like that guy for how scary he is in the game. I'm only in Act 1, so I haven't had too much of him, but from what we saw in the beginning of the game, I absolutely adore him. Just going back to the cons, trying to think. Like we already mentioned the bugs. Honestly, pretty low amount of bugs. So yeah, I don't think I'm sure there's some other things I'm forgetting, but like the main ones I wanted to mention was what you already talked about, how they like the cutscenes, but like you said, I'm at that point, it doesn't even bother me anymore. Like I feel like I almost feel like I'm reading it. You know, when you read something and you don't like picture someone saying it, or like I don't know, it's hard to describe. I can just hear it in my mind while I'm playing the game. So it's definitely, I don't know, it's gotten better with time.
One thing I've noticed with this game is there's a lot of what would be animations, or there's like little transitions that instead of actually having any sort of animation to it. It's just like a fade to black, and it will just be like some transition. So this would be something as simple as like your characters are mounting a boat, like for a story mission, and instead of seeing that, you just like fades to black, and then you're in the boat. And that actually happens a lot in this game, more than maybe it happens as much as other games, but I find it so much more noticeable in this game. I don't know. Is that something that bothered you guys? I found after a while it's really at times kind of gotten on my nerves how often it fades to black. Like once you're paying attention to it.
Yeah, I can only really think of one scene where it's happened. Maybe I'm just I don't
It
know.
happens a lot. Like it now.
Yeah, does
I
it?
feel bad actually now that I've prepped it in your
Oh
mind. You'll
no.
probably start noticing it
Oh
too much.
no. Yeah.
It's like every quest it'll happen at least a few times. Like
Oh,
it's not
okay.
uncommon.
Yeah,
It's
like
just like there's a lot of little animations that they don't have in the game, so they just kind of fade
yeah,
out.
like the main one that I'm thinking of is when I think you're basically like going on a boat to like do a rescue mission.
Yeah,
So you get on like
that's
this
the
little
one.
dinghy and then you just like warp to the boat. And as
Mhm.
soon as I was getting on the dinghy, I'm like, oh shit, do they have like boat mechanics in this? Like, am I gonna be able to like row to the boat or something? So yeah, it's unfortunate they don't have it in there. It would only be like more sprinkles, on top of that beautiful cupcake, which is this game. So I don't. I mean, obviously, I haven't noticed it too much, so I can't say it's
How about
bothered
you,
me.
Travis? Have you noticed that?
I noticed it a little bit, but maybe I just kind of noticed it in the sense of like, because I've talked about how before they kind of end and whatnot. So maybe that was my stick up as far as I'm always looking for all this cutscene and then we walk, then another cutscene. So I think I've noticed, but it hasn't bugged me too much. But I think when you say it, it does happen quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well that's good. That hasn't bothered you guys. It's really not that bad for me. It's just like
Yeah.
it just makes the game a bit choppy at times. It feels
Yeah.
like
I was gonna mention this earlier,
Mhm.
or sorry, you carry on. with
I
your
was going to
thought.
transition elsewhere, so you go.
Okay, I was just gonna quickly double back because I didn't really get to throw my takes on like the skill tree. I texted you, Dylan, because I actually really like what they did with the skill tree. It's not the most elaborate one I've ever seen by far,
Mhm.
but it's not like what we got in Spider-Man where it's just all out in front of you. It's just like, oh, this probably won't take long to like complete the whole thing, right? This one, it actually has it in like different pages. So you have like the stances section, you have the samurai section, the ghost section, and it like even within those sections, it's got like a more of a different just like subcategories of where you can actually distribute your points. And for me, at least, I just found, I mean, like even just talking to you guys and just like doing this review now, like you guys have put skills into something that I literally never even put a point in evasion until yesterday. I have like the roll now. That's I maxed out the
roll. How did you just get the roll now? The roll's so handy.
I literally just got the roll because Dylan was saying how awesome like the shoulder jab was. I'm like, okay, I got to get it on there. So I think I just got the roll literally
The main
yesterday.
one for me that I just like when I was cruising through all the menus and I saw it and I was like, okay, that's the first thing I need to go for is like I don't even know what you'd call it. I should find the name, but it's like the power slide essentially. We just slide on your knee and like do that like horizontal slash and you leave the sword behind you. It's just like that classic like anime like action movie moment that you've seen 1,000 times, but it's so satisfying to just run up and a one-hit kill an archer with that. It's so satisfying.
Yeah, the sprint slice is nice too.
Yeah,
like
that thing.
Yeah.
So I went all deflect, maxed that out, and then basically I got like the max standoff because I felt like that just helps so much, especially when you're like encroaching on like a settlement, because you're able to instantly take out 3 guys if you can get the timing right. It definitely
Just
like
wait,
the difficulty,
dude,
the difficulty definitely gets up there. I remember like just thinking, I'm like, I might just stop doing the standoffs because this just seems game breaking. Like every time
I've kind of gone to that point.
Yeah, and then and then like the first time they do like a feint, I just like shit the bed on the first guy. He like throws me to the ground. I'm instantly at like no health, and then like the brute comes in, just slaps me around.
Oh yeah, because if you it's worse because if you let them hit you, it gets you down to about 25%. But if you screw up the standoff, you're literally on like the heartbeat. So I have found when it is like you are in enemy uncharted territories, it is better just to ride on the horse, jump and throw some gear at them, and then just start fighting. Because the standoffs, especially when you get Act 3, oh boy, they can be punishing, and it's just
I thought
I do them for fun, but
I thought like the difficulty was basically no feints and then like where I am with the feints. And I've like figured out like how to basically win those like 99% of the time with like the new feints that I'm in. But again, I just started Act 2, so clearly they get way harder in Act 3. And then like the other trees that I maxed in after that was actually the stances. I really like the stone stance. Like I said, water stance
Yeah.
was my favorite. So as soon as I finished stone, I just started leveling that one in. Now I'm leveling up the wind stance.
Nice.
It's just, I don't know, like when you have the skill tree broken out into these different sections, I just feel like it really opens up a different play style for the player. Obviously, like at the end of the game, at the end of the day, if you get far enough, you can get all the skills. But when you get to the end of Act 1, you're not going to have like all of those. So it really helps you tailor your play style, at least as you're progressing in the story. And I appreciated that for sure, especially like one of my other favorite games that came out on PS4, Spider-Man. Like I absolutely hate that skill tree system. I think it's a waste of time. Like it should have just been, you have your powers. I don't know. Like it just felt really lazy
Well,
the way they did that.
Something that's cool in this game is, at least early on, like there's certain equipment things that you'll unlock through quests, which I think is great. Like, for example, the longbow is something, well, even the regular bow, but both bows, you get each of them from a different quest, or like the grappling hook you get from doing a quest.
Yeah.
And to me, that was always like, well, that's what Spider-Man should be. Like, he already has all the powers. He should get new stuff from completing some quest. So I think they did a good job of mixing that into this game, and then having the skill trees on top. And like you said, like the skill trees are, there is skill trees, but there's really only 2 skill trees, and then there's just like other individual things you can upgrade, and none of them are really take that long if you want to just get to the end of one particular aspect. So you really can cater it to your playstyle. So for me, I'm all about the stealth. So I feel like I'm darting all around, getting all these things that increase my stealth. But then when I got the moon stance and I saw that I can do a triple spin, I was like, okay, I'm turning into a Beyblade. I need this immediately. And then it didn't take me that long to like level up and get to that ability. So it doesn't feel like something's way off, like some RPG like Diablo or something. It feels like everything's within your grasp, but still, I still have so much that I need to get. Like I haven't done any of the showdown upgrades. And I know those will help me huge, but it's just not like my priority so far. So I think they did. I agree with you 100%. I think they did a great job. And then I think the charms add on to that as well, because you can swap those out. So you may not have, now I have like probably a good 20 or so charms built up, so I can really switch stuff out and customize. And they're not huge bonuses, but actually I can take that back. Some of them are pretty huge bonuses. And it's nice that they can really cater to your individual style. And then you can even switch around based on the quest. So if one's all about stealth, you can put your stealth charms on. If one's like, you really don't have a stealth opportunity, you kind of just have to fight everyone head on, or you're doing a boss fight or something, then boom, you can put on some charms that just straight up increase your damage or HP or something like that. So
what are those bone charms? Is that what they're called? Bone charms from Dishonored?
Yeah, bone charms.
It's not the ones that you get your powers from, but it's like the boosts. That's basically like what they are, and like that's what I think of every time I get them.
Yeah, they're just like these little bonuses that you can switch around based on the situation. And like the menu, it's so swift to switch around between things in this game. Doesn't feel like it's taking you out of it that much, so that's nice as well. It's just really quick to switch that around, like mid battle, even if you want to, which I have a few times before. So I have some other directions to go, unless you had anything else you wanted to add there, Kirklin.
I was just go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's all I wanted to say on the skill tree.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I can't stay for the full thing now. I got some prior commitments, so I was just gonna drop like my final. And the only other thing that I had on my notes is the Act 2 end set piece I really like, and the final kind of boss battle or boss fighting I really like, because it feels like you have to use everything you've learned in the game. Where something you can check out eventually on Patreon, you can check it out, but eventually in the feed you can check out me and Dylan's Arkham Retro review of the first game, and that's one of those boss battles where it's super disappointing. It's just like a bunch of goons, and you feel like it's just a run-of-the-mill boss battle. The final one or final stages feel like everything you've learned you have to all accumulate into one. But yeah, it's a great game for me. I don't know if I put it in like one of my greatest games of all time, but as far as one of my most funnest games of all time, it's definitely up there. And this is a game that I do really want to complete everything. Like I said, it's up there as far as a top tier, like action adventure genre. I already shelled them out, but it's up there. And I don't know. We got some other games coming out, but I would definitely it's tied with Last of Us for my game of the year, because you guys know me, I love a strong story, and the story is really good, but doesn't, I think, reach the heights. And maybe a sequel could do that. I think, again, the ending of the story has some good kind of twists and turns that I appreciate them doing and not saving. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think I would probably give it like a 9 out of 10. So look in the background there. You see Jin and there you go. So, but I'll listen to the rest of your guys' review later, and then I will talk to you later.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Later, Travis.
Ciao.
Okay, so Kirklin, I got a few different directions we can take this. I want to actually jump back into some of the world design aspects of the game.
Okay.
I guess world building or even just like exploration, even just open world in general stuff. So we've talked about a lot of it, just how beautiful the game is. I wanted to touch on again the buildings, like just the houses, the settlements, all that stuff is really cool for the like Japanese settlements, and I think for the Mongols as well. They did a really good job of making different types of tents and like I don't know, wooden posts. Like there's a lot of recycling there, but it still feels like there's a good amount of variety. The bandit camps or like the Mongol camps, same difference. Remind me a lot of Fable, like doing some of the banding.
Yeah,
Fable,
totally.
just because of the style of the architecture and stuff, and I guess how rugged it is, how there's just guys sleeping on mats and whatnot. So I really like that. I know you, as a Fable fan, also saw that. So I thought that was funny that we
Yeah, no,
both kind
for
of
sure.
noticed
I
that.
remember like the specific quest in Fable where you have to like sneak through the bandit camp or whatever,
Yeah.
and like it totally like just whether it's the walls or like the tents that they have, it's just 100 and like the towers for sure.
Mhm.
I was getting those vibes.
Yeah, I was for a bit I was thinking that I don't know if I think there's enough variety here for the regular houses, just because there is a lot of like you'll see the same kind of houses over and over
Oh,
again.
for
But
sure, yeah.
then when I progressed into the Act 2 area and I saw some of those houses, I was like, oh, okay, I just need to get a bit further here because there
Yeah.
actually is a lot more variety. Because the second act so far, the areas I've discovered, because obviously the first act, that whole island part of the island, like there's tons of different environments.
Mhm.
But I think what's great about the second part is it's like so far the area I've discovered is mostly kind of swampy, which is interesting, but then also changes the houses. Like the houses are kind of on stilts so that they can stay out of the water, and they have little
Mm,
ladders that climb into them.
that's really
Or they're
cool.
just like a lot more mossy because they're in just like damper areas. So
Right.
I thought that was really cool. That I'm sure that I still have a ton of more of these Japanese buildings to find, and it more just switches depending on the area you're in rather than just being the same thing copy pasted
Yeah,
across the whole island. So.
that's exciting to hear because I haven't dove too far into Act Two. I was
Mhm.
basically like just finished Act One and then like
Yeah.
kind of just roaming on the outskirts. But I did what you did. I went like back to the first area. I'm like I missed some stuff here. I want to do
Yeah.
more of this stuff. But that is really exciting because that was a question I had while I was just playing. Was like I wonder if there's different like biomes or something. Just different. I don't know, like mountainous regions. Like I just didn't know because like I
Yeah, I
said
really
I
have.
didn't do. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I so far on the Act Two island, and it's all the same island, but this is just the way it's kind of segmented.
Yeah.
It's so far it's just like swampy area, but I still have so much more to go to. So I'm sure just like the first part, there's tons like there's the golden forest, there's the kind of terrace farms on like near the coast. There's the inland towns, there's like the deep darker forest, there's kind of the mountaintop areas, there's tons of like what waters or hot spring areas. So there is tons of
Yeah.
areas so far in just the first spot alone. So I'm sure that the same is true for the second and
And then
third
even
of
Act
the game.
Three, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Like that's really exciting because even just in the first area, I found like you do have like certain shrines you'd go to. It'd be like kind of up like more up on a mountain, but like not necessarily like a peak of a mountain, like
Mhm.
I don't know if you think of like the Himalayas or something, it's definitely nothing like that.
Yeah.
But like I love just being on top of like there and then just looking around and you see like the golden forest or something, and then you see like the
Mhm.
different type of bamboo, and then it's just like, man, like there's so much in this. And that was just the first region. So
Yeah.
I'm just really excited to just carry on with this game and find out more of those areas. Like you mentioned, the swamp area. It is cool that they do have those different like shacks, different houses, because I did notice that for sure. I'm like, hey, I was here with like Lady Masako. What the
Yeah.
hell? I'm like, this isn't where we were.
I'm wondering how much variety there will be to the Mongol camps, because like story wise, it wouldn't really necessarily make sense for those to change unless they had areas that were like more heavily guarded and they had therefore
Yeah.
like bigger structures and stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But so far, it seems like there's a good amount of variety. The other thing I want to touch on is just like obviously we talked a lot about the side quests, whether that's like the character quests or just like the peasant quests. But I think that another big part of the game is like these other little things you're checking off as you go through the world. And I think they have a good variety of these, and these are kind of fun. So there's like the fox dens, which you'll
Yeah.
just find this little fox and you follow him around. He'll lead you somewhere, and that's where you get the bonus from that area. There's the golden birds you can follow around. They'll take you to all sorts of different areas.
Oh man, I've gotten lost just following those guys. I'll be like following one, and then
Sometimes they go for a while.
Oh, they do. And then like at first I thought it was only for like a specific thing, like whether it's like the bamboo strikes or something. And then I like sorry, there's one that literally just took me to like a quest. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I didn't know that they would just kind of take you to everything. But yeah,
I'm guessing they just take you to, like the
one,
nearest point of interest.
That's what I'm assuming. But anytime I see that fox, I'm like, okay, I gotta stop what I'm doing. I gotta follow this guy.
Yeah.
And like most of the time when I'm playing that game, I'm not in the middle of a quest because I just get so enamored with the world. So I have the opportunity to go wandering.
Yeah, those two aspects I really hope other games follow suit in that you, even if you do have a game that has more traditional quest marker and a compass, you can still have those moments in there that instead of following some arbitrary line, you're following a character or an animal in the world to go to a certain spot. So I think that was good. Then they have other ones like the shrine. The shrine missions are interesting because you essentially just have to like do this long climbing sequence, which are pretty basic. They're like the same as you would expect from a game like I don't know, Uncharted.
Far Cry has them.
Last of Us. Like every game kind of has them.
Yeah.
Where you're just following like, oh, these rocks are colored differently. You jump on them. And so it doesn't feel like it's doing anything really different there. But since the game is so beautiful, I like doing those. And I did one earlier today that took me a solid like 5 or 6 minutes of just straight climbing to get to, which maybe it doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is. Like a lot of these things are usually like a minute long. But this one was like, man, I was just essentially doing this spiral up this, and it wasn't even that big of a mountain, but I think they really put like the extra effort in to make that feel like a full sequence, and
that's cool.
Make you feel justified when you actually get to the top. It feels like it's something you conquered or accomplished.
Yeah, well, like your reward, whether it's your, the bonus from the shrine, it's just to fucking get a great view of this beautiful island that you're on, the island of Tsushima. But I've played a ton of Far Cry games, and though that's such a running thing, it's like, oh, you got to get the watchtower, and then you get more points of interest on the map. But like there's something different about this one. Again, it probably is just the major factor that this game is so gosh darn beautiful. When you're climbing one, it's like a sunny sunrise, and it's just like, oh geez, okay, I'm going photo mode here, spend the next 25 minutes customizing my photo that I'll probably never really look at again, but in that moment I capture that memory. But yeah, like maybe it's too like something just feels really smooth about like the actual climbing. It's not quite like Assassin's Creed where you kind of go like anywhere, but it's really all I need, especially in this game, because for me, we were talking about like our different play styles. You guys were more of the stealth aspect. I was a lot more of just like the actual samurai combat. Like I just have so much more fun with that. So I feel like I'm not looking for this to be a replacement for an Assassin's Creed. However, that being said, me and Travis said in the past, like the one Assassin's Creed game that would get both our monies is a Japanese one. Dude, I don't even need that anymore because I feel like I got everything that I needed plus more, because I don't think Ubisoft could accomplish like this level of visuals, this level of lighting, and just like I feel like they spend their resources elsewhere in their games, which I don't know, pros and cons to both sides. But this was like, I'm not itching for that Ubisoft Assassin's Creed Japanese game anymore, because I got this and it has the stealth elements. It's got the climbing elements in it.
I feel like even then, like a lot of complaints that people have, even with the new Assassin's Creed games that people are liking, is the combat. They just don't think there's much there. So this is probably even better than what Ubisoft would put together, in the sense that the combat
absolutely
is like possibly the best part, or like the part that had the most work put into it.
Yeah, it's so like, it still just trips me out that like my favorite part about this game is probably the combat. And that's hard to say when I literally can't stop drilling over the visuals in this game. Like going into it, I was spending, $80 on the lighting of this game. If I got a okay story, if I got okay combat, I still would have just been like on my horse playing the flute, just living my best life as a samurai. But like everything else that just boosted it, it's just got me so hyped on this game. And like I already mentioned, I can't wait to get back in it.
Yeah, a couple more things. Like I think the fox dens and those golden birds that lead you to things are probably the best of that, but there's still other things like the lighthouses you can find. Not really a climbing challenge there, but those are still cool to find. The hot springs as well, because they give you, increase in your total health, which is awesome.
I really like the haikus.
You like the haikus? Okay.
Dude, I love the haikus. I don't know what it is. I feel like everyone is placed in, I mean, obviously like the game's creators put them there for that reason, but like they just look so, they're just in a good location. It's I don't know, like maybe a little limited in like the way that you're able to like elaborate your poem or whatever. Like you basically look at an object and then you look at another object and then that's how
It's
you make
cool
your
that it's
poem.
there for the rest of the
Dude,
game, though. The poems
yeah,
are
and
there.
like, dude, it works for me. Like I like that, and like me thinking about it, like it's like, yeah, they probably could have elaborated a little bit more on like the creativity of choosing your haiku, but at the same time, it's just like that works for me. Like I look at a tree and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna say that, and then you get your little headband.
I think it's so unique for a game like this to have one of those things that you check off on your map be that. Like it's so different.
Yeah,
The only reason that I don't really like the haiku so much is because I'm just in love with the big hat and I know that I'm always going to get a headband and I know I'm never going to wear it once in my life
yeah,
because I'll change my outfit, I'll change my sword, I'll change my bow skins. I am never taking off a big hat. So there's no way I'm ever going to see these headbands. So
yeah,
that's kind of a bummer for me, but I still think they are a fun way to switch up the formula. I really like the bamboo strikes. Those might be my favorite. It's
yeah.
almost like a little rhythm game where you have to press this 3-button combo. Like he draws his sword and you have to hit this button combo before he strikes. And then it goes up to 5 and then it goes up to 7. And they can be kind of tricky at times. Some of
Oh,
the patterns
absolutely.
are quite, sometimes they're like way too easy. It's like, why is there 4 squares in a row? But for the most part, I think they're like a nice little challenge, little timing
Yeah,
challenge. And it's cool because that also feels like something that's really like it is very video gamey. You're hitting this series of buttons. It's almost like a cheat
arcadey.
code, but at the same time, it does feel like something that a character like this would be practicing. It's just straight up their timing or their technique or just like these little manual changes they're making when they're swinging their sword. So I think
Yeah,
really cool that, and those are the ones they're always my favorite to come across. When a golden bird takes me there, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm excited to do this. And
yeah.
also because they give you additional resolve, which is an incredibly important thing for your character.
Oh yeah, no, I think I would agree. I think the bamboo strikes are my favorite, because you get like the, I don't know, arcadey type mechanic where it's like a rhythm game, man. Yeah, you gotta get the right sequences. Lucky for me, I played a lot of GTA back in the day, so I'm good at getting those quick little those cheat codes off,
Yeah.
little button smashes. So those ones are probably my favorite. I feel like the haikus and the hot springs I really like for just the immersion aspect of what it
Yeah,
is. Like
I like the
it's
reprieve of it. The fact that it's just this chill.
that's a good word for
scenario.
it. That's a really good word for it because it's, yeah, like I just took down an entire Mongol encampment and then I follow this golden bird and now I'm at this haiku and I'm just reflecting on something and it's almost like a meditative like
It
a
is.
meditative
Yep.
state that you're in, and I
And
don't
you
know,
can't do
it's
those quickly. You can't just spam through them. Like,
no
even the
it's
character, like the camera, even if you have the high camera speed, it still pans slowly because you're supposed to take it in the moment. And I think maybe the reason I don't like them as much either is actually just because of the way I've been playing the game. In that I'm just staying on the first island. I keep saying first island, the first section, and I'm just cruising around hitting all the points of interest. And so I did like 3 or 4 haikus in like probably an hour and a half or something. And
okay,
so
I
I just
see.
felt like maybe that was
Yeah,
too much. When it's
see,
supposed to be
yeah,
something that's like this moment of bliss after a couple hours of really intense
yeah,
combat or
I probably did
something.
like 2 a day, like in
Yeah,
comparison
so
there,
I probably
so
just burnt
yeah.
myself out on them a bit, and then it's always just like looking at them. It's like, okay, I know I'm going to do this now because it'll check off that box, but I know I'm not going to use the reward I'm going to get. So I guess it's kind of just a double thing, but I still
Yeah,
think it's a great addition to the game, and I hope more games do these things as well in terms of offering these different little things that are really relative to the story, the world, the character, that are those fun things that you check off instead of just like, oh, I hit that location on my map.
yeah, no, I agree with you. It's not like, okay, I've been there. Like I don't have to go back there again. It's
Yeah.
just like I actually went there and did something, and then you get the headband out of it. I agree with you. I do prefer the hats. However, again, I'm just such like an RP guy. So like when I was doing at the end of Act 1, you have to like raid like the castle, and it's pretty much like a stealth sequence, right? For the most part, at least. So I like tricked out my guy to make him look like he's going, and like I just had a headband on. I didn't want this giant hat to like obstruct my stealth elements, because that's just me and my personality. I just like to role play as much as possible in those situations. So I definitely got to pull out my yellow headband, and I read my haiku as I wore it.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh geez, there's something else I was gonna say.
While you think about that, I'll take this one more. Another thing I really like about the world, and this was actually, I was going to bring this up when we were talking about that glitch I had in the hot spring when I was getting shot. But I like that element of the game where there's just these immersive events that are happening. Like a lot of the time, it's like those Mongol patrols are going across the road, and so it's just like this random encounter that you may encounter or you may not. You can always go around them, obviously, because there's lots of room. But then there's also other things with like wildlife in the game. There's boars and there's bears that are just chilling in the world doing their thing. And if a Mongol camp or a Mongol patrol runs into them, then they'll fight those things. And I think that's great. One, because the animations and the bear fights are so brutal. Those bears,
Yeah.
dude, they just grab them by the leg, they whip them around, they throw them like 20 feet, and the bears will destroy you as well. They deal so much damage, and they die really quick. They take like an arrow or two if you get like maybe one arrow to the head, and it'll take them
On
out.
that long bow, yeah.
Yeah, but it's still, I love that. I love those. I love when games have those immersive world events. Fallout is really good at that. Fallout 3 in particular really nailed that aspect of the game. And it just makes the world feel more lively because it feels like things are happening other than just the buttons that you're clicking. So I think that's really important. The only thing that maybe my con with that is that there isn't much wildlife in the game. Like there's deer, which are passive. There's the boars, which are aggressive until you hit or kill one of them, essentially. And then the bears, which are just hyper aggressive. And that's pretty much it. Like there's not even like fish that you can catch in the game as far as I know. There is crabs and like birds that will fly around, which I think look great. Like especially when you go across a beach and there's just thousands of crabs, looks amazing. But there isn't like a hunting aspect to that. So maybe as I get further in the game, maybe there is more of that wildlife, more aggressive wildlife. But it's one of those things where I was jokingly thinking like, man, I wish there was like a troll that I could fight here. But really, I just want like a little bit more wildlife to fight just for a little bit of variety's sake. And just because I think it's great when you come across a bear destroying some Mongols in the wild. And I want a bit more of that. And like I said, that's just so far. Maybe there is more of it down the road. So
no, yeah, I 100% agree with you. Like early on in the game, that was a concern I had. I'm like, man, I wish there was just wildlife in this game. And like that was before I had encountered like boars or the bears or something. So once I encountered them, I'm like, okay, it's nice that they have it in here. You know, you see the deers. But it's just it seems like they could have ramped it up a little bit more, especially like if you play a game like Red Dead 2. I don't think that you played that, but that is just jam-packed with wildlife. Like it is hard to go somewhere and not have like a chipmunk or a rabbit like run in front of you. Or
and that's awesome.
Like, it's so cool. So it's definitely something that they can improve on possibly in the next game. You know, maybe introduce like some survival elements. Maybe you have to like hunt a certain type of animal and then you can make like a pouch out of it.
Horizon has a lot of that where it's like you'll need fox skins or something, and then you can manually select them and then you'll try and go hunt them in the world and stuff. So I understand like this game, there's like from bears and boars you will get predator skins, which help to increase your satchel size for like arrows or like smoke bombs or whatever. So there is a mechanic tied to it, but I don't know, it's not like that's the only thing that's tied to it is those predator skins, and it's not like that it's going to hold you back from upgrading your sword or something.
No, exactly. So it's definitely, I'm glad you brought that up because that was, I think, the other con I was searching for earlier when I couldn't think of it.
Here's a couple of quick fire notes. One kind of related to combat we didn't really talk about. Sometimes you'll take an enemy out and then they'll just be on the ground kind of crawling for their life, and you can go over there and put them out of their misery by just stabbing your
I'm glad
sword.
that's a thing.
Yeah, I think that's a great detail. One, it cycles back into Jin kind of being the savage dude, but I think it's also just great to see. I mean, one, the game is really bloody and gory. There's blood just flying everywhere. So it's kind of interesting to see after a battle has ended and you just kind of see the aftermath, and then to have like a couple guys crawling really feels awesome. So I think it's cool that there's then associated animation with that as well, where it's not just something where you attack them on the ground like other games might have. Like it is actually you are actively hitting a button to do a separate action. So I think
it's cool too that geez, totally lost my train of thought there, but it kind of I kind of figure, I mean, something else I wanted to say that is also just like on the brutal aspect of the game. I'm playing on hard. I've died.
I just switched mine to
hundreds of times. Okay, nice.
I'll be in there with you.
I've died so many times, dude. When you die and like the Mongols go up to you and just like gang beat you before like putting you out of your misery, like those are like, it's like a visceral scene to like witness. And like I'm glad it's in there because it's like like wow, I really just got murdered. Like it's not just like you have died or something, like, you know, like a big red marker on the screen. So it's just again more detail because I got like my arm sliced off and then I'm just kind of sitting there and then they actually finish me. It's not like you lose or something. You like your body glitches out when you die, like some other games happen. But so I'm glad that they added that aspect to it. Something else I wanted to bring up when we were actually talking about the bamboo strikes, because we were talking about Resolve. I actually really like the usage of Resolve. I believe it's similar to like what we had in PS4 Spider-Man. right? Like you kind of, or like I can't remember what it was like in PS4 Spider-Man.
Well, yeah. So in Spider-Man, you do have a bar that's like slowly filling up, and then that's like
And it fills up in combat, right?
it fills up through combat, and then yeah, you can click it, and then it will heal. Like you'll get healing based on how many you have. So it is, I guess it is virtually the same. It's just in Spider-Man, it's like a bar that. Okay, I guess there is one threshold. So it's a bar that you would just heal by, but then if you get a certain threshold, you can use it to do finishers. Whereas in this game, Resolve is tied to healing and then some special abilities. And so there's more tied to it in this game. In Spider-Man, it was just finishers or like healing, but healing could happen at any amount, no matter how small. Whereas in this game, you need at least one token, I guess, to heal it all.
Yeah, another thing I loved just about the whole Resolve system is how, and like it ties back to the tutorial basically you do with your uncle there. Like it's instead of just being like you hit this button and you heal, it's like channel your resolve, like basically like man up and like fucking finish the fight, you know, like and like your uncle's saying that to you, and it's just like wow, like that really makes me feel like I'm not just hitting a button to heal, like I'm actually channeling my inner resolve that I've gained from like taking down these Mongols and being a samurai. So I really like just the explanation of it. Again, they didn't have to do that. They probably still would have had a heal in there that I would have been using, but just those minor little attention to details, I really appreciate, and they go a long way with me, and probably goes a long way with other people, right? Like I'm probably not the only one that's in that camp.
Well, I think
cool
as well,
too.
it's really nice how minimalistic the UI is when you're in combat. Like all you have is HP and resolve, and there's sometimes like your objectives will pop up, but other than that, it's like there's nothing on the screen.
Yeah, that's cool. It's good to know too. That you're just clarifying the what's it called, like expert HUD?
I think it's called expert HUD.
Yeah. So I'm glad you clarified those points, because I really wanted to jump on that that train, because I just love minimal HUD in any type of video game. And then just my one last thing I was going to say on the resolve, like when you actually heal your character, like he does like this little like you know, like okay, let's get this going, like round 2, here we go. Like I just love that it's not just like you just see your health bar go up, like all those little details I love a lot. And I feel like they did a really good job implementing a lot of those mini details. I like the usage of the touchpad for the PS4.
I was going to mention that earlier, but I'm glad you brought
like in the whole life of the PS4, I feel like it's been such an underused mechanic on the controllers. Very few games have used it correctly, or like not necessarily correctly, but just like intuitively.
It's just a map button.
No, 100%. It's a map button, or some games it's a pause button. But I liked. Unfortunately, it wasn't actually in like the controller scheme, so I didn't know that you could put like you could sheath your weapon. That's like one of my favorite things you can do in this game. Actually,
wait, how do you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
When I just do it by like if you crouch, it just like puts your sword away.
Dude, okay, I'm gonna open up your eyes right here. Okay, I'm looking at your game right now. You better
have my game.
Hand. Okay, swipe right on the touchpad.
Oh,
and
look at that.
Okay, that's nothing. If you're in combat, so you just have a bloody sword now, right? You just slice down hundreds of Mongols. You clean your blade before you sheath it. So you either like wipe it on your sleeve.
I've noticed that.
Or you like swing it to the right. It's just, that's like my favorite mechanic. But you basically like swing it to the right and all the blood just goes flying off your blade, and then you sheath it. Like it's such a badass move. You got your flute in there. I didn't know that you could bow. Did you know you could bow?
Yeah, I bow. When people bow to me, I bow.
Oh, dude, yeah. Every time I've seen people bowing, I'm like, oh, I wish I knew how to.
Apparently, it does some other secret stuff as well, like in certain areas. So if you're sometimes, I don't know, I haven't really noticed any weird ones yet, but I've heard about that. And then obviously swiping up brings the wind up, which just feels great because it feels like the motion of wind.
And like you don't see a fucking compass in front of you. Like it's just. That is such a big thing that they have in this game, and it helps so much, because I'm on my horse. I'm like you, man. I don't want to pull up the map. I don't want to know where I have to go. You know, like I just want to be immersed in this world. So I basically just swipe up. The wind kind of guides me, and then I just go. I follow my cloak, because my cloak is in the direction.
All about that.
Everything that I just said previously, like it adds so much to the game, and like those are very minor details, man. Like sheathing your weapon. Like, come on, that's not a game-breaking thing. If it wasn't in the game, I would still really enjoy the game. But like, after I take down 7 or 8 Mongols, I just like swipe the blade to the right, and it just all the blood goes flying off. It's just so satisfying.
Absolutely. I'll take this in a different direction here. One thing I forgot to mention about stealth, because this only happened to me like at probably around hour 20 is the first time this happened. But eventually the Mongol camp started having some of them had birds at them. Have you had
Yeah.
this happen yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you notice this earlier? Because to me it was like, yeah,
No.
I just noticed this yesterday when I was playing.
It's a later thing. I think only like certain mobs.
I'm guessing
bring
it's
them.
tied to like your level or something.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I think it's because you know, there's like different colors of enemies. So like the
Yeah.
teal blue guys, those archers are such a pain in the ass because they shoot like 7 arrows like back to back or something.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's one of those like bigger units or something.
Yeah,
because
I guess we
doesn't
didn't really
happen
explain
often.
them, but essentially it's just it's the equivalent of what most games would have as like a camera in a stealth game, where it's just this bird who's a sentry who can spot you much easier because they can fly around and they have keen eyes, and they'll signal to the Mongols that you are there. And so it's just like another thing you have to keep track of, and then you have to try to snipe them, which usually you might have to wait until they perch somewhere because then it's easier to hit them, but you can also just try to hit them midair, which is tricky. I got one the other day because he was like kind of clipped out on like this pole, so he was just kind of flying, but he was like glitched in midair.
Oh, nice.
So I just shot him. I was like, oh,
Game
nice.
breaking. Yeah, I think I've only encountered them like honestly once, and it was in the middle
I've
of a
seen him
combat.
2 or 3 times.
They
so.
they like dive bomb you too. Like they attack you in combat.
Oh, I haven't actually been attacked by one yet. There you go.
Okay, yeah. I'm like 90% sure they attack you because I was in a fight and they were like, it looked like they're swinging down at me, but I would
Maybe
like
that's
dodge.
just how they like scout you out to their guys. Maybe they just like go.
I was in combat already though, like with
Oh, okay.
enemies, and then I feel like they were dive bombing me. And apparently
pretty cool.
kunai is like the hard counter on them if they're
Oh,
close.
that's smart,
Just
yeah.
do a quick kunai.
Throw the blades
Yeah.
out.
Dude, I love the kunai. Oh my god, they're so good. Especially
are
if you have
very
like 2
powerful.
archers that think they're tough. They're like, oh, I'm gonna kill this samurai, and then you just
Yeah.
throw a couple kunai at them.
Yeah. A couple other things. This one, just a quick note. Something that games have gotten better with in general, but it was always a problem in video games, is like NPC walking speed when you're doing missions and stuff.
Mhm.
In a lot of games, that was a kind of a meme back in the days, that they move at a speed that is slower than your run, but faster than your walk. And it was
So
always like you
true.
just had to
Dude,
do
Elder
this glitchy
Scrolls.
little
Elder Scrolls. Yeah.
Elder Scrolls classic. They're renowned for that ever since Morrowind and probably earlier. So this game has it really narrowed out, where whether you're on foot or on your horse, whether you're sprinting, walking, running, they will always just go at the relative speed of you. And sometimes for a mission, it'll like you can't run because I don't know, you have to have some certain amount of text or whatever, but it works really well. It just works exactly how you would expect. Sometimes it's a bit goofy where you're having like this subtle conversation, but you're also sprinting at full force, and so is the NPC with you. But
Yeah.
I think for the sake of quality of life, that's an improvement that hopefully every game just has from now on. It is becoming more and more common for games to have.
Should be the standard.
Yeah,
honestly.
like it's getting to the point where it is standard.
Instead
so
of like
just-
running and then stopping and then waiting for them to be at that prime spot, and then you walk and then it's like, oh, this is awkward.
Either way, I think it's worth shouting out because, you know, if someone from Sucker Punch is watching this, whoever on your team probably spent months to get that to work properly, and you fucking nailed it. So good job.
Yeah.
One thing I really like that makes this game feel very storybook, or like almost like I guess they are Tales, and it makes it feel like Tales, is that you'll have these little splash screens where it'll show the name of the quest with some Japanese lettering.
Yeah.
And it shows that like the start and the end of the quest. I really like those. I think that just adds a huge amount of aesthetic to the game and make it like, yes, this game is split into like what I guess is like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, but it's nice that those make them feel like little bookend chapters, even if it's just a small quest that you're doing where you're like, or the mission's called like an empty basket of rice or some shit like that. It still is a cool addition that I think is really good. One thing that we haven't touched on at all, because I think it's something that doesn't necessarily stand out, even though it is really good, is the music and sound effects. The sound effects, first of all, are great, just the sound of slashing and all this. But then the music, it's exactly what you'd expect for a Japanese samurai thing. Like, it has those same instruments. It's very aesthetically pleasing to what the genre is. It's nothing that's blowing me away necessarily, but it's just like, it's perfectly fitting for what the game is. So I wanted to give that a quick shout out. But I don't think I have anything to really dive in on it. It's just, it sounds great.
That's a good shout out for sure, because that's definitely something that it really boosts, like especially a game like this that's going for that period piece. Like, it's going for that just that authentic Japanese, that feudal Japan feel. And they did such a good job at it. I don't know if you've ever seen the show. Jessica's watching it right now. I know she is. So shouts out to Jessica if you're listening. But Inuyasha, there's so many.
I used to watch that back in the day.
Oh yeah, dude. There's so many like little, I don't even know, like a flute or like something that I'm like, dude, this is like from Inuyasha. And I'd be like in the middle of a fight and just getting those vibes. So that they did an immaculate job with the soundtrack. I'd say.
it's expert craft. The last my last set of notes here is something that we did touch on briefly, but I wanted to dive back into, is the horse mechanics in this game. I really don't even want to call it horse mechanic because it's so fluid and so seamless. This game has by far the best horse mechanics of any video game I've ever played. It's something that I feel like just misses the mark so often. Like Shadow of the Colossus, it's super janky. If you're like within 5 feet of a cliff or a wall or something, your horse slows down to an absolute crawl because like I guess you might collide with something. Skyrim and Oblivion, it's terrible because it feels like you're just riding on a fucking cardboard box. Like it does not feel like you're on a horse. It's very, very clunky and slow. Games like Red Dead, you have to constantly spam A to make sure you're moving the like full speed. Super annoying. Breath of the Wild, which I actually think is fine. The biggest problem with it is like your horse is kind of janky and weird, but that's only because the more time you spend with your horse, the better suited you are to them and the better they control. So it's like it is a mechanic in the game, but it is, I understand why Travis complains about it. I guess I'll say it that way. I think it actually is fine, but it does feel kind of weird at first. Or if you like lose your horse and have to get a new one, it's like, okay, now I have to start from like this janky horse that's moving kind of wonkily. So I think this game, fucking amazing. It's just so simple. There's nothing you have to think about. When you call your horse, he rides up to you. You seamlessly hit the button. There's no slowdown whatsoever. There's no janky animation where you stop, get on the horse, and then start moving. You just, while you're running, the horse is running. You hop on the horse while you're running. You keep going. Very, very rarely does the horse get janked out on a wall. Does the horse not jump over something? There's so many times where I'm like, oh, this is a small bridge. My horse is not gonna be able to make this just because I've been conditioned by games my whole life. But nope, he just seamlessly climbs over. Even going, like, you can't climb mountains like you can in Skyrim, which is super glitchy and weird. But you can surprisingly jump off like high or janky cliffs in like a way that I was not expecting. But I find that you can push the envelope a lot more than you'd even expect, and the game just does it seamlessly. And then on top of all that, you don't have to get off your horse to pick up anything in the world.
That's really nice.
Amazing.
Oh, that's
oh my
so
God.
big.
Skyrim as well. It's a huge problem where if you want to sift through something, you have to get off your horse, do that. And then once again, the animation to get on and off your horse in that game is super slow. In this game, you don't even have to get off your horse, but if you want to, you can do it without slowing the game down. So
I remember that was one of the things you were like the most positive on, like just the trailer. You're like, I can't wait to just like go through the bamboo forests.
Well, actually, it's funny that you bring that up because that's actually my one con with the horses. And well, it's not even the horses, but
do you go right through trees?
Yeah, seeing those bamboo forests in the trailer, I was like, oh my God, how are the horse mechanics so good that you can just glide through those bamboo forests without glitching out, without clipping, without slowing down? And it's unfortunately because the bamboo forests don't actually have any hitbox on them whatsoever. It is strictly visual, so you can walk right through them. You can stop in the middle of them, and the pole will go directly through your body.
Oh, really? That's funny.
It's unfortunate that the solution that they had for how you go through those bamboo forests is by having the bamboo forest not have any animation whatsoever. And that's even the case if you're just Jin. If you're not on the horse, you can still walk right through them. So that was a bit disappointing for me, but still it's a minor inconvenience for what is an amazing horse system. And then even on top of that, at the beginning of the game, you can pick between 3 color schemes for your horse, and then you can pick their name. And then even then you can switch the saddle out. That's like another one of the upgrades you get throughout the game as you're picking up banners. So I like that you can have a customized horse. What color and name did you pick?
I forgot to ask Travis that before he dipped. I think it's, I forget what the actual color's called. It's not black, it's not white. It's like the gray one.
Yeah. I forget what it's called as well, but I know the third option. There's black, white,
third
and
option,
like a kind of muddied, dirtier option.
Yeah, and then the name is Nobu, which is trust.
I picked Nobu as well.
Yeah, let's go. What color are you then?
I have Nobu, but he's a black horse instead.
Okay.
Which, it's pretty badass. I really like him.
I like how like your character again. Are you playing in Japanese? I can't quite remember. Okay, yeah. I like when he'll like get on his horse. He'll be like Nobu. And then he'll do like his little, just like call to the horse if he's whistling to him or something. Yeah. Sometimes he does that. Just like quickly touching upon the bamboo forest. I did find that pretty funny because when we were watching the trailer, it's just like, oh my God, okay, I have to experience that. So obviously I had to try it for myself. And then when I did it, I'm like, okay, you sneaky bastards. I know what you did. I got no clip on these trees. But like, honestly, for like a just enjoying the game element, I think I prefer that over the latter, which would be you get janked out in these trees. Like you literally can't make it through them.
Absolutely. I think it is. Yeah, I think it is the solution, but
you can improve on it.
It's not my favorite solution.
I'd say you can improve on it big time, but for like the first game, I'm okay with it.
Mhm.
I honestly didn't think that if you just stopped, it would be right through your body, because I didn't test that. I was just ignore it, just keep
Yeah.
going. The one con actually I have with the horse is so you can be like walking around and then it's literally like full sprint and it's just like jolts. I want like an in-between speed on the horse. I felt like it was you're either going too slow, or like it's not even like you're going too fast or too slow. It's just like from start to like from stop to go, it's like you're hitting nitrous and like your
Okay.
horse just guns it, and it feels like my guy is just like yanking on this horse, and it just I don't know, for me it's I kind of want to build up to that speed, like I want to get a gallop going before
That's
I
fair.
get that full speed, so that again it's just a personal thing, but it's
That's fair.
something I would want.
That didn't bother me, but I think that's a fair criticism. And I think the last thing to mention on it too is I like that there's no stamina on it. That's another thing. Like Legend
Yeah.
of Zelda, like in Ocarina of Time, it's like you got those fucking carrots, and you can run if you have a carrot, but if you don't, kind of slows down a bit. So I like that you can just full book it the whole time. That's just quality of life thing. That's like maybe it's not the most realistic, but it makes the game feel so much better that it's worth. It's like the bamboo thing, right? Like it's the solution they picked is for game feel, and that to me is like almost always a benefit if you
Yeah.
pick game feel
Yeah, I
over
agree.
some other thing. So the last thing I wanted to say on the horse mechanics as well is I guess to go back. So one thing I think was great about Shadow of the Colossus that actually blew my mind when it happened when I was playing that game is I got off my horse one time to like climb this tree. You have to get these like coconuts that increase your whatever, I forget what it is. And while I was doing that, I noticed that after, like my horse in the meantime went over to this nearby little like pond, and he was like sipping the water, like drinking it, and that like blew my mind that the horse just went and did this really natural thing while I was fucking around, and I thought that was really cool. And that's not really the case in this game, but instead they have a bunch of great little animations or cutscenes that'll show you and your horse. So pretty much conquer after you conquer a camp, take over a farmhouse or a farmstead, whatever, you fight back and liberate a camp. It'll cut to some scene where you see people coming back to the town, and it's like it's always switches to daytime as well, which I find funny to make it look like this bright, happy thing, which I think is great because it actually feels like, wow, I really did liberate this place. But then those sequences always end with you and your horse just chilling doing something, and then you can like get up and do your thing. But it's great. It's either like maybe your horse is lying down and Jin's lying with his head like lying on the horse, or he's like kind of just petting him, or some little thing like that. And there's like a few of them. Like I've probably have seen the same one twice, but I feel like they cycled them through at a good rate. So I think that's great as well because it just makes you feel even more connected to your horse in a way that most games the horse is just it's just that it's like this thing that you use to move faster, whereas in this game it really feels like an extension of your character, and I think that is just the best thing possible for a horse.
For sure. I really like those little like scenes. They're really quick, but again, it just adds.
You can also just let them sit. Like if when he's like sleeping there on his head, if you just like I've noticed it before. If I leave the room to go get some water, you can go. Like if you just leave him sit there, he'll just stay there for.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
I know until your PS4 turns off, I imagine. But yeah, they just hang out doing their thing,
That's really
and I think
cool.
that's really. It's kind of like the haikus, right? It's just like once again this moment of just calm before the eventual storm.
Yeah, there is one mission. You basically have to liberate like this sake, like brewery or whatever. And then when you're done it, I remember Jin was like sitting around this like camp and he's just drinking like sake. And I'm like, this is awesome. And then like he's just sipping on his little. I love their like little canteens that they have too, like the shape of them. I just like the samurai canteen, whatever you call it. I just always think those things look so cool. But I'm like, hey, I wonder if I can go photo mode. Of course I can. So I tweaked out with that for like 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
Editing my
That's
photos.
a good call. I should do that when they're doing their little rest moments after you liberate a camp.
I wasn't sure if you could do it like at all times. Obviously you can't do it in cutscenes, but like in combat you can activate this like the camera mode.
Does it pause the game then?
Yeah, so like I did it in the middle of a showdown, just 'cause
snap.
I wanted to see like a huge like blood
That's cool.
squirt after I hit a showdown, and then I like the enemies. I was hoping that they'd look more like they're in blood, because when I took the photo, they just look like they're standing there really gimpily. Like it didn't look like they got like sliced or anything. Actually, on that note, I kind of wish there was more like decapitation elements.
I was hoping for that as well.
Like
I think I noticed a couple times that I knocked a guy's arm off. but I don't know.
Okay.
Like I've seen it so rarely that
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was like just gaslighting myself into
I
believing I'd seen that.
I definitely think I saw the same thing. However, it could have been just the sword because there's been times that I've like sliced them and then I think it's their arm, but definitely their sword. So it's either both or
Yeah.
just the sword.
I'm
Uh,
guessing it's not the like because there is an option in the menu you can turn blood off. So I feel like they would
Yeah,
have had that a thing, or maybe it was something they had early on, then they kind of cut it, but there's still a couple cases where it pops up.
possibly. Yeah,
Maybe
too
that was
gory
the
or something.
case.
It's not
Yeah, I don't know.
quite
Like I feel
directed
like this
by
game's already,
Tarantino.
I feel like the game's already rated M, so I don't know. You might as well
Yeah.
go for it, but I don't know.
Some I wanted.
Yeah.
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time. You gotta have saved some stuff for the sequel, right?
Oh, exactly.
Kirkland Petzer, I think that I had bolded all the things on my notes that we hadn't talked about. And now there's nothing bolded on my screen, so I
You've
think
exhausted your list.
that's a weird way of me saying that I am out of notes to talk about. And that's crazy that we have this much to say and we are like essentially a third through the game, I suppose.
I know. I remember because I was obviously texting Travis back and forth throughout the weekend, and I know that he just powers through the campaign. So I think it was Sunday morning. I had messaged him. I'm like, "You beat the game yet?" And he's like, "No, on the third act. I'll beat it today or whatever."
Yeah.
And then I'm like, "Okay, I'm literally at the end of Act 1. I think, like, I think I'm at the end. Like, it's cool because like when you're working your way up to like the different I don't know, end missions of the acts. It kind of has like a checklist of like these things you have to do, like recruit this person. So you kind of know how close you are to the end of the act. And then obviously there's like the big mission at the end. So I was asking him like, yeah, like Act 1 has the biggest landmass out of the entire map, it looks like. So like, is Act 1 the biggest? And then he's like, no, I think they're all like relatively the same length. And I'm like, wow, that's actually crazy to me because like I've spent so much time just bullshitting around, chasing foxes, chasing golden birds, taking down Mongols, dying to these Mongols, just doing all these things that aren't the main story. And it's just so refreshing to know that there's still so much more to see and experience for the first time, you know? So
yeah.
Loving it.
I guess do you have any other notes on your list or can we get to
I have no notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain you're not going to give this a rating considering you're not done the game yet. But I don't know. Like I feel like I have more to say about this game, or I feel like I will once I
definitely
play more.
do. Yeah.
So whether that means that me, you, and Travis get together again for a spoiler cast, where we talk more about story and then whatever else we didn't talk about here, or if that means that the next time you hop on Out of Mana, we just talk about this game for another 2 hours. I don't know what it is, but I can guarantee you that I'll be talking about this game more because I honestly feel like I might platinum this game. I know it's maybe early to say that, but I really, really am loving this game. So I think we'll be back. Any closing remarks? I feel like giving our overall thoughts isn't really too valuable considering we're not done the game. But if you want to, I don't know, your closing thoughts, go for it.
It's tough to give a rating on a game that you've fully completed, right? Maybe I get to the end, it's just like, wow, that's the worst end of a game I've ever played. This is a 1 out of 10. I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's possible with how amazing that'd be. Like the polar opposite of a Taylor review, where it's just like, I know it deserves more, but just give it a bullshit rating, as you know, vice versa, or
wow, Colin Taylor, Jesus.
Yeah, I am Colin Taylor. I've called on him multiple times. Shit talking is Assassin's Creed.
We gotta call each other out, keep each other honest.
No, exactly.
I'm excited to spend more time with this game because as of right now, like, I mean, I've had such a great time with all these PS4 exclusives. I love Death Stranding, I love Spider-Man, I love Horizon Dawn. Those three in particular really stand out to me as some of my favorite games of all time. And I feel like if this one stays on the same pace it's on right now, I feel like that one will be in contention with those four. And I don't even know which of those three already I would say is my favorite. So I really want to have that cast at some point too, talking about the PS4 exclusives.
Yeah.
Going through, I know you've played a good amount of them as well. At least you played, I'd say, the most important ones, like Detroit. If you haven't played that, I don't know if you really need to. I think it's kind of lower tier. Anyway, I think that's exciting because, man, I'm stoked to have a nice way to really send out this console that I've had so much fun with.
Dude, you got your video cam on. I'm literally just staring at Jin in the background with that cloak floating in the wind and that lighting. Like, it's
so beautiful.
God damn, that's beautiful.
And that's from like this shitty webcam that you're seeing.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. I've been on this little cliffside for like an hour. I should have Nobu with me, then I can at least hang out with him. But I don't know where he is.
That's a dope sword that you got.
There he is. Look at that.
Nobu.
I'm gonna ride on him right now for the send out of this. But yes, thanks everyone for listening. Travis gave this a 9 out of 10. I think I'd probably be somewhere around there if I believed in the number system for ratings.
Yeah.
But yes, thanks everyone for listening. I guess tune in for our Xbox event. That's going to be fun. I don't even know who's going to be there yet. We've switched the day around a couple times. I can guarantee Taylor will be on it because he needs to be on it. But other than that, who knows will be on there. I hope I'm on there, but we'll see. We may be back for more ghosts. If not, this has been a really fun cast. Thanks for joining me, Kirklin.
Absolutely.
Once again, this is probably our second longest game review of all time after me and Travis's Death Stranding. And that's for a game that we haven't finished yet. So there you go. That's how much we're loving this game so far. So
I could see this being a part 2 for sure in the future.
I think it will. Act 2, and then we'll have an Act 3 like 2 years from now. When we come back and talk about the DLC that hopefully comes out for this game. I don't know if I need DLC. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. But thanks everyone for joining. This has been a long one. Have a good day. We will see you next time. Peace.
Bye-bye. Beautiful.
Right. I have no idea what, because obviously Travis wasn't here to record the rest of this. I don't know if we're sending it to him. I don't know if he wants me to do the editing on this one. So I'll have to message him that. But
maybe I'll just send it to him.
Send it to him for now, and then I mean, if you need to send it to me later, I'm sure that's no problem as well.
I'll have the file. I have all the podcasts we've recorded. It's crazy how many we've done. Like just to think how long COVID's been on. That like how many I've had to record now. Like my folder is getting pretty lengthy.
Yeah, no, I've had to dump like the first couple hundred onto a hard drive because there's just I don't want to delete them just in case things go awry with the internet, but. There's no way I can leave them all on my computer.
Yeah, you've definitely done a lot more than, especially now that like that's like your sole like your only option right now, right? Because
I mean, and then even all the cast from the first like 2 or 3 years when we recorded back at the basement.
Pre-Custer Dome.
Back when I was the old host.
Yeah, I know.
A long time ago.
Crazy.
All right, man. It's late, so I'll let you go. But
it is late. Yes. One last thing. Oh yeah, as we were just doing like after Travis left, I literally just got like taken back in time to my first time I ever did a remote cast. It was actually just you and me, and that was the Knives Out review.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was hilarious. As soon as like Travis left, I just got like taken back in time to that moment. It was just fun. But
good times.
Yeah. Anyways, I will let you go, and it's good seeing you. I know you can't see me, but just picture this.
I like that picture. It looks like a Yu-Gi-Oh thing, so I'm down.
I know. Remember when I said I like got that image and then it like gave me this folder?
That was in the folder.
That was one of the images in the folder.
That's so different than the original image.
I know. Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's probably just some like samurai fan, like just who's a fan of anything samurai. So it's like, this Yu-Gi-Oh picture. Fuck it, I'll throw it in there.
It's very much Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah. Anyways, I hope I see you soon, and I'll talk to you later. I guess tomorrow we have cast.
Oh yeah, I guess we're doing the hero draft and then Xbox. Are you maybe doing the Xbox thing on Friday, or are you?
No, I cannot. I have plans Friday, so that was why we had to switch around the times, like 150 times. Anyways, I will catch you on the flip flop.
Yeah, peace.